R.I.P. Taylor, what's going on, everybody? My name is Charles Blades, and this is the Current Game Podcast. I am joined this week. Fuck Kevin Williamson. My name is Charles Blades, and this is the Current Game Podcast. Today I am joined by none other than the potato himself, Aaron Weeks. How's it going, buddy?
It's good. Have you ever had to pee so bad that you couldn't stand up straight?
Stand up straight?
That you literally had to walk to the bathroom hunched over?
I've peed. I've had to pee so bad that when I got to the urinal, then my knees got weak, similar to like a sexual kind of pleasure situation. Are you familiar with that?
I am actually.
I have to pee so bad sometimes that I feel like I'm done peeing, and then I'm like, no, that was just the reserve tank, and then I start peeing like again, like it's like two pees stacked.
I've been there too. Yeah,
it's
crazy.
It's fun. It's underrated joy and pleasure.
I like it a lot.
We are joined by the Milk Maiden, Cheyenne Clark.
Oh, that's gross.
It's just getting even grosser.
By the way, I'm gonna also need the info for season 2 of The Good Place.
Did you watch the first season?
Yeah, I know.
It's fucking fantastic, right?
It
I watched it in like
It's
2
pretty
days.
good. Yeah, I watched it in like a day, let's be honest.
It's so good. Yeah, I'll give you the info. Aaron, did you ever watch that?
I did not. I almost did it again, but I was like, nah, 3 weeks in a row is too much for.
That bit was going strong. Cheyenne's carrying it on. And local Sinclair broadcast anchor, David Morgan. How's it going, buddy?
It's really a danger to our democracy. Is that what they say?
Yeah, something like that.
Something
You
like
just have to
that.
be more monotone in your delivery.
Oh yeah, no emotion allowed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got a good show for you this week. A lot of news, a lot of cool announcements being had this week. That's the big news stuff. But we're gonna start it off with I would say maybe not the biggest announcement, but the most not industry shaking, but I don't know, kind of I don't know, some kind of announcement.
It's setting a precedent.
Setting a precedent announcement. Which is Shadow of War apparently is removing the microtransactions. Aaron, where's this story coming from?
It's GameSpot from Eddie McCook. McCook. I
We should learn how
apologize
to
for
pronounce
butchering
Yeah, I
your
did
name.
that last week.
Yeah.
It was the same.
Magoosh.
This story comes from GameSpot, and it says, Middle-earth Shadow of War is dropping its big microtransaction system. In a forum post today, developer Monolith said it's releasing a number of free updates to the game in the coming weeks and months to respond to players' feedback to make the game better. And among the changes is the removal of some elements of their in-game marketplace. Responding to concerns that people have raised months ago before Shadow of War was even released, Monolith said it's removing all of the gold and war chests from the game's store. Being able to outright purchase gold and gain orc followers throughout the war chest, quote, reduces the immersion in the world and takes away from the challenges of building your personal army and fortress, Monolith admitted. They also went on to say the core premise of the Nemesis system is the ability to build relationships with your personal allies and enemies in a dynamic open world while purchasing orcs on the market is more immediate and provides additional player options. We have come to realize that providing this choice risks undermining the heart of our game in the Nemesis system. It allows you to miss out on the awesome player stories you would have had otherwise created, and it compromises those same stories even if you don't buy anything. So
they weren't making any money off of them? Is that
all right? So I'll just get right into it. Is that the cynical? Is that what you're thinking? That's why this is happening.
It's
Nothing about this isn't cynical. Nothing about it. This is a cynical story. This industry is soured. Yes, this is a fucking. So essentially, what they're saying is we think this is a bad idea, and we're pulling it out because it's dumb. But it was there for like 5 months, and it was probably generating revenue for them. And now that it isn't, they have taken it out, probably in the hopes of getting potential buyers who were turned off by the systems to purchase the game. That is what happened. Nothing can change my mind. And the fact that they think that it's a bad idea, but put it in anyways to make more money, really just shows you how fucking awful AAA gaming is. And that's... Nothing can change my mind. That's awful. That sucks. But I'm gonna start yelling. I'm already about to start yelling.
It's not the time to yell. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Was like, it must have been that they weren't making enough money off of these, and they're like, hey, maybe we can get people interested if we denounce these microtransactions and we know that some people are really against microtransactions, so maybe those people will be okay with buying our game now. So I don't know. I also have the same kind of cynical ideas about it.
How about you, Aaron?
It kind of feels that way. Like, why bother otherwise? Because, I mean, I feel like the game, didn't do that great when it came out anyway, right?
I mean, it was the best-selling game the October or something that came out, like whatever month it came out, it was number one on NPD.
But I feel like anybody that was gonna buy this, like, already bought it. So it's like, if you're gonna do this, you waited a little bit too long. But so the only reason I could imagine that they did this is what David and Cheyenne are saying. Like, they realized there's no point; they're not making money anyway. So why not like use it as a last-ditch effort to get some more people to buy the game?
Yeah. I'll go more cynical than you guys. I think this is a Warner Brothers thing because the only reason I think this is they specifically state in their quote that this generally affects the Nemesis system, which is like the system that like is the reason why God of War people care, or not God of War, Shadow of War people care about that series generally. Like, the Lord of the Rings stuff is cool, but the revolutionary thing it did was the Nemesis system, where you're getting Nemesis and allies and stuff like that, and like having these in-game like unique experiences in that way. And them saying that it fucks the Nemesis system is, I think, a WB thing of saying, hey, we want to use the Nemesis system in other games, therefore we need to get it clear of all of this shit. So like this is their way of doing that. And the only reason I say that is because he says Nemesis system like 4 times in his like a full statement, which is weird to say for a specific mechanic in your game, I would say.
Yeah.
So they're gonna reuse the Nemesis system in other games, and like those games will not have microtransactions. Is what
or they don't want like it tainted by the debacle that was Shadow of War kind of.
They don't want people to see like, oh, this has the Nemesis system, therefore it has to have these really awful like loot boxes. And
not that like I didn't play Shadow of War. I don't really care. Their loot box system like wasn't great by any means, and it like wasn't good. But like it wasn't the Star Wars Battlefront 2 like.
Well, it gave you stuff that made you like gain XP faster.
Objectively,
and stuff, right?
like made you stronger.
Yeah, like it gave you an advantage.
But the problem with that is like Shadow War is a primarily single player game. I know there is a multiplayer component in it, and that is what the loot boxes affected majority of. So, but like that isn't the main crux of the game. I would say is why they're not.
But it's forced PvP.
Huh?
Like it's like the forward operating base of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah,
So
but like,
what if you could?
The main part of Metal Gear Solid 5 isn't the forward operating base, I would argue.
No, but it still affects your single player experience if you're being like defeated all the time.
Well, you could just I think you can just probably turn it off, right?
I don't know.
I would assume
that was my understanding of it.
I would assume
Which is
you
even
could just
worse, in my opinion. But
I'm not saying it's great, but I'm saying like
2.
it's not as bad as Battle. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
They put them back in, right?
But they're not the same at all. They're all cosmetic stuff now.
Oh, that's good. But fuck them. Like
that game, like it paid the price, but yeah.
This sucks. This needs to stop.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's like such a bad word now.
It really is.
Like so that's like a great sign.
Even someone was like, I'm not gonna buy Far Cry 5 because it has microtransactions, even though like they're not intrusive.
But that's
like,
fair that they're even there at all is like
yeah.
a super like that's.
I don't know. They're like. They're so like not a big deal at all.
It's still a bad look to have them.
It really isn't.
It really is.
They're fine.
Peter.
The problematic part, I would say,
they're not fine. Why have them if they don't matter? Why even have them?
Because if some dude's rich and he doesn't want to fucking level up to get a fucking hat, like let him buy it. Who the fuck cares?
It's so annoying. It's like, well, these don't matter, but if you want to just throw your money at us for like nothing, then here's the option to do that.
Why? Like that's like saying
donate
like
button on the main menu that says, "Hey, just give us your money for no fucking reason," because that's the same thing. And you're like,
I'd be fine with that too. Like I don't.
No.
Why not?
Earn it. Earn it. That's not earning it.
They made a good game. People want to support them. Like, what's wrong with that?
Dude, fuck off. No, that's not how it works, because look at Star Citizen, where people are dumping like their life savings into a game that's never gonna fucking come out. People are just willing to throw money at things.
That's fine. If they're enjoying it, why? Who the fuck are you?
It's not okay.
Why?
It's exploitive, and it's like a fucking cult-like mentality that like, oh, if I just put more money into this game, I have like elite status, and I'm gonna enjoy it more, and it's gonna be a better experience.
Does it make you better in Star Citizen?
What?
Does it make you better in Star Citizen?
Objectively, yes. You get
right, but it doesn't in Far Cry.
Yes, it does. You can get like
you get cooler clothes
early if you buy them
You
with
can
money.
get better weapons.
Like if it's featured on the shop and you haven't
as soon
unlocked
as
that gun type, I think you can just buy it.
Like, it's not that big a deal, dude.
It's not because it's a single player game, but I'm saying the concept of just having them there is like, why do it at all? Like that's not what games should be. Like it should not be like a fucking front for your fucking shitty microtransaction business.
It's not a
Like,
like
you're
in
giving
no
this
way
way too
is
easy
like
to
I don't like
pass.
Far Cry 5. We'll get into that later, but like in no way is that game up front to get you to buy microtransactions.
No, but it's there, and
Yep.
who knows what direction they'll take it. And if you're saying that it doesn't matter that it's there and it doesn't affect your experience of the game, then why even have it at all?
Because other
Just
people
so that
want to do that stuff. Who am I to judge them?
If it were like a Rocket League where like the cosmetics and it's only cosmetics fund like tournaments and updates and shit, I would understand. And that's like an example that I use of like this doing this right. And like I know Far Cry is like a game as service and they're doing all this like arcade shit and like future DLC, but that DLC isn't free. You have to buy the season pass to get those. If those were free and they had the microtransaction, I'd be like, sure, fine, you're doing it right. That's totally okay. But you can't have both. Fuck off. It's so bullshit.
I don't. I completely disagree. I think microtransactions
so
are
bullshit.
fine. Like the
out
problem
of your
it becomes when you add the loot box element to it.
I think they're fine for cosmetics. Like anything but cosmetics as far as microtransactions is not okay.
I'm fine. Like even in a single player game like Far Cry, if you can buy a weapon with microtransactions. That's fine.
No.
Why? It doesn't affect.
I don't know. I guess
you
I
at
would agree
all.
because like it's the same as cheats in GTA. Like there's,
It would be like having to pay for cheats.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's the
Like-
same. Who cares? Dude?
No,
it
that's
doesn't.
bullshit.
Like, why does it matter to you if somebody
Because
else wants
back
to do
in the
it?
PS2 era, I could just look up cheats online and have like way more fun with the game, and now those would be sold as like microtransactions.
Well, no,
because they
you
know
can still
that they can
get
do
the
it.
gun if you pay for the if you don't pay for the microtransactions.
Yeah, but it takes longer, and why is it even an option? Like, it's just stupid. It just doesn't make
I feel
any
like you're
sense.
just like I don't.
Why are you such a fucking bootlicker? Just stick up for this shit.
Jesus
It's so
Christ.
annoying.
Like,
It's so annoying.
it doesn't affect you at all.
It does, because every time I want to open the fucking weapon like shop, I have to load the microtransactions that are currently available on the like server.
That's not true at
Like,
all.
It absolutely is. Go to a shop in Far Cry 5 and say shop for guns, and there will be a loading screen, and it is loading what is featured on the online server store.
You can buy that with money though.
What?
With in-game
buy-
currency, you can buy that.
I know, but that is affecting me. That
How
is
is that-
He's saying the
constantly a
loading times
reminder that
with
This
hey,
is
by the
not
way,
to
we're
mention
selling
this is
you
like
something.
not a loading screen. It's like an extra 1 second, but also you can buy that stuff with in-game currency.
okay, you can also buy like progress and Dungeon Keeper with free currency, but like you also can just speed it up
But like
by a
it's
fuck
not
ton by
like
spending
it's not
real
like
money.
an unattainable amount of currency that you can buy it with.
No, it's not, and like that's why I'm saying then why even bother?
Because
Like,
some people
why
just
have
don't
them?
want to do it.
Oh
Because
my
they
God.
want to make more money. That is why. And
Stupid. You're
Like
so
I don't begrudge them at
stupid.
all for that.
I
I don't
I-
think he's arguing that they're not doing it like out of a
I'm not saying
desire
they're
to
doing
earn
it out of
more
the
money.
kindness of their heart.
Yeah, they're
no.
not doing it because like we know some people aren't going to want to do this, so let's add the option to let them buy it. Like that's
Why
not at
even
all what he's.
have it, especially with the
To
stigma
make
of microtransactions? Why even taint your game with that?
Is
Why
Far
put
Cry
it in
5
there?
tainted because it has microtransactions?
Yes, there were many discussions about them before the game came out, and it swayed a lot of people's opinions on the game before it released.
No, the more fucking no, never mind. But like
You're
fucking
fucking
it is so not a big deal, and the fact that we're having this conversation is dumb.
I
Alright,
really want to
well-
hear your like. I saw your tweet about you didn't. There was something you hated about Far Cry, and I really
Oh,
want to know
there's
what
a
it
lot
was.
I hate about Far Cry.
But
Oh,
you have to
we'll
tell
get
me
to that,
spoiler free because
apparently.
I have not played it
we
yet.
can do a spoiler free
You
part
don't have
before
to
we get into the
spoiler it.
section.
You don't have to spoil it to talk about your points, and neither do I. So I don't know.
I mean,
why.
some
said
point I
you guys-
want to talk about the ending. That's
Why don't we just talk about it when everybody's played it?
no,
In a
because
later
I'm not waiting for Aaron.
The
to
ending
do it.
is fuck you.
Oh my god.
I'll be done with it before God of War, but that's
I don't know.
not
I'm
a very
waiting.
small time
Stupid.
window.
All right, fine.
Whatever.
All right, this next story is about Warner Brothers, and they're well, I guess it's not actually about Warner Brothers. It's about IO and Warner Brothers forming a relationship to publish the Hitman Definitive Edition that came out 2 years ago, I think, or last year or two. It was like seasonal, so it was like between the years kind of thing. Aaron, where's the story coming from?
This is IGN. Joe Screebles.
Screbbles.
Screbbles.
What, you guys freaking out?
Because she's like wants to
Because
read the
I would
story,
like to
even
look at
though
the
you
story.
completely.
I'm gonna
break
read it.
down
You can just listen to
regardless.
my
That's what
my
I.
golden pipes.
I'm
she's
sorry,
like-
but like I don't understand what you're saying half the time because you stumble over your words. I would
You're
like to
so
read the words.
out of your mind.
I
TJ,
read
please continue.
just fine.
Can
I got
please
it. Warner
look
Bros. No, I'm just
at
kidding. I
the-
don't want to do it.
Warner Brothers has announced that it has entered into an agreement with IO Interactive to publish Hitman and will release Hitman the Definitive Edition on May 18th. Last year, Square Enix withdrew its ownership of IO, but the Danish developer retained the Hitman license. Warner Brothers' announcement currently only contains the existing first season of the latest Hitman game, but with the announcement of a new Hitman game on the horizon, this could indicate a future relationship with IO Interactive too.
That sucks.
Huh?
That sucks.
Why?
Because Warner Brothers sucks
No.
for the story we just talked about. I hate them.
Why?
They're a terrible publisher.
They're not.
Because of
They published The Witcher.
Because of Shadow of War 2. Did they?
Yep. God, dude, it feels so good just to blow somebody out with one sentence. It really does, Aaron.
Fuck
You know, I wish I could just give you this feeling in my heart.
They still suck though. They'll put Hitman costumes in the microtransaction store.
I bet they will, and who fucking cares, dude?
You're so dumb.
It doesn't matter. It blows my mind that it like matters this much to people.
Wow, dude, you have to buy the next chapter of the game and you can't finish it. Why does it matter, dude? It doesn't matter. That's where we're gonna be in 5 years. Like, oh, dude, I have to pay for the graphics. Well, who cares? It doesn't matter.
You're right.
So you're,
Fuck
you're
off.
making the slippery slope argument.
The slippery
about,
slope
eh.
is real.
That's not
It
even a
started
slippery slope.
before
That's just a
Starmer.
straw man argument. Like you're just making up a point that I'm defending.
You don't. If only you knew how bad things really were.
I guess, man. This
God.
fucking fairyland you live in, where like you pay every step you fucking take in Far Cry.
Every step you take.
Somebody had to do
Alright,
it.
please continue.
What do we think? What do we think this means for the future of Hitman? Cool.
I
no
didn't
one
hear you.
cares.
Did
Yeah,
you
I
say
don't
Aaron?
know
Did you
what
say
you-
David? Did
I
you
didn't.
say
And
Cheyenne?
like
No,
anyone
you just
can
ask him.
chime in.
I think it means that this is going to be the package that we should have gotten in the first place, which was all the episodes put together.
Why?
Because episodic releases are stupid as fuck.
No, they're not.
You're
Especially
out of
for
your.
this
I
game.
tend to
Fucking
agree.
mind.
No,
Depending
they're
on the
not at
game, I do
all.
not
They're
like.
oh my god.
What the fuck? I'm taking crazy pills.
Apparently.
You're out of your fucking mind.
Episodic
Episodes
games
are
are just point blank bad.
garbage. They're garbage. No,
You have to
but
pay for the next level that you get, like
Just
especially
give
in Hitman.
the
No,
whole
it depends
fucking
on the
thing to
game.
me.
Like Final Fantasy VII being episodic is not okay.
Yeah, that's
like
dumb.
even The Walking Dead, everything that's episodic
Walking
makes
Dead
it
was
worse.
What the
It makes
fuck are you
it
talking
worse.
about?
It is worse because of it.
I would argue that it's better. I liked the episodic
No.
structure for The Walking
What do you
Dead.
mean?
No.
What do you mean it's worse?
Because fucking it just like it kills hype. It breaks the, like any kind of pacing that you're building
Does
up
the
with
opposite
your
of
game's
kill hype.
narrative.
Yeah, it does not
gets
kill hype.
absolutely destroyed by like finishing
That's not
a
true.
fucking
Then TV shows are
fraction
all
of the
bad.
game.
Literally, like, unless it's done really well, where like the first episode is its own kind of.
I would
contained
love to see
thing.
the sales of The Walking Dead season 1 or episode 1 compared to episode 2 when they were released.
What do you mean?
Because there is no fucking way that someone who played episode 1 is 100% attach rate for the next episode that's going to come out, and then they finish episode 1 and they're like, oh yeah, I guess I'll check it out when it comes out, and they're like, oh, I got other shit going on, I'm not going to do that. When they could have easily just delayed it until the whole fucking season is done,
this
and then
is
just
the
release
worst
it.
argument.
No.
Why?
Because like, why does it matter how it comes
No,
out? You
what-
can either wait till
That's
the
been
end.
your argument for everything he said, by the way.
Like, all right, so I think episodic content is awesome. It gives you, like, if you don't have the time to put 100 hours into a game, it can make you feel fulfillment out of finishing a chapter of a game. In the same way, like, if I can finish a 5-hour chunk of Hitman as opposed to like the full 35-hour chunk, that's a lot better. There is clear like, if you structure it around the episodic stuff, there can be clear like cutoffs so you don't kill momentum. Like the way you're describing, like in The Walking Dead, every episode is like a self-contained thing. That's how like TV is structured. I don't fucking.
The Walking Dead is the best example of episodic that I can think of. So
Hitman
using
is
it was a bad idea.
Hitman.
Like
Hitman
Hitman,
is-
Hitman has specific levels that are in chapters, like in episodes. Like what you're saying, like, you don't have to sit and play through the entire game at once. You can very well sit through and just do that one level at a time. Like, there's nothing saying that you have to do all of them at once. And just because it comes out at, like, different intervals doesn't mean that, like, it's a better experience. Like, you yourself can just sit down and do one level at a time. You don't have to have that time commitment. I don't understand that argument.
Because, we'll go on here.
I was about to say I kind of agree with Cheyenne on that. Like, I don't really understand your argument here, but my argument would be that, like, small, like, contained narrative experiences are good episodically, like all Telltale games. Like, I think those are fine as episodic experiences because, like, the opposite of what David said, it, like, builds hype for the next one, kind of. Like, at least for me, it's like, oh, wow, I'm really excited to play the next episode. It's kind of like what CJ said. It's just like watching a TV show or something like that. I don't understand the... like having to dedicate if someone puts a whole game in front of you, you suddenly have to dedicate 100 hours all at once to play this game.
Like you don't ever feel that way when you play like a open world game or a game that's like long. When you don't finish it, you feel like, this sucks.
No, because it'd be the same as breaking it up myself artificially into segments. Like, I do that all the time. Like, I take a break from things, and I'm like, I'll come back, and then I come
set
back and
goals for yourself. It's like, all right, well, when I get to this point, I'm going to stop.
Yeah,
I still feel very, very unfulfilled. Like, as
My
opposed
problem
to like
with
rolling credits
episodes
on something.
is that it makes the like value proposition of like getting me into a game like with episodes is like way harder of a sell, and that's for anybody. Like, if I was like tangentially interested in a game like Hitman and like episode 3 was on sale, I'd be like, well, I don't really understand, like, I don't know the other one, so I'm not gonna do it. Just makes like buying them and figuring out if I'm gonna like them and enjoy them like as a whole a lot harder, especially when like some episodes of some games like just shit the bed. Then you're not judging the whole narrative and the whole idea as a self-contained unit. You're like breaking it up into like, how good was like this part, like how good was like that episode. I like it much more like Kentucky Route Zero. I was really interested in playing, but I was like, it's episodic. I don't really want to like invest in episode 1 when episode 2 isn't even out. Maybe it'll suck. Like, I have no idea, because that's like a whole different development cycle.
Well, the counter argument to that would be like, well, I'm interested in this game. Let me put the money up for episode 1. Hey, I don't like episode 1. Hey, I saved $10 because I don't have to buy episode 2 now.
That's like so disappointing though, because then you're like getting yourself invested in the beginning of something that you'll never see the end of. Like, to me, that's like much worse than just never having been invested at all. Because I would rather play a holistic game that I know is good from start to finish, or at least has some rocky parts but is on the whole very good, than pony up for like episode 1 and 2 and then 3, 4, and 5 just be trash for, you know, whatever reason. Maybe the studio went through something, or, you know, whatever. But when they present it as a whole game, like if Kentucky Route Zero or Walking Dead was like, here's just the game, I know from reviews and from word of mouth whether or not that whole experience is worth the... And you know, it's without any shadow of a doubt that the whole thing is a self-contained narrative, and it is solid and good and worth the money that they're asking. It just makes it simpler in my eyes, and episodes convolute that kind of like value proposition when I go to a storefront or something and I see these things, and it makes it a lot harder for me to pull the trigger on games. That's my reasoning. I'm not gonna sit here and say objectively like it's worse, and I know that was my initial argument, but like, for me, that is the reason, because it's harder for me to gauge whether or not it's worth getting invested in, if that makes sense.
I understand that to a degree, but you're making it sound like these full games are immune to being bad on the back end.
I'm
just
not.
because
I'm
they
saying
are
you know
whole.
whether or not, based on initial impressions or reviews, if they hold their weight as a unit.
I mean, you can know that with an episodic game. Just wait until it's all out.
But
At
then,
that point, why
not
not
just release a
yeah.
game? Like, that's what I'm
If you
saying.
have to wait until it's
Because
all
what
out,
people
like
other people wanted to enjoy it beforehand.
Yeah, some people are playing it
You
episodically. It
increase
doesn't mean you have
increase
to.
the odds of spoilers by doing episodic.
Number
If
one, you
somebody
don't care
does
about
wanna wait-
spoilers at all in
What?
your life.
Yes, I do. What?
I don't really care.
What?
In your life, bullshit, David. You okay?
Are you fucking with me? I completely hate
think you're
spoilers.
mixing us up.
Are
I don't
you
care
out
about
of your mind?
No.
She is the
I'm-
one that
Yeah.
does not care about
All
spoilers.
right. In your life, you do not care about spoilers.
That's wrong.
Okay. All right.
What do you want from me?
All right.
I'm
That's
very
wrong.
confused
That's
by
a
that.
Care
wrong
about
statement
spoilers.
about me.
David, spoiler free Morgan.
I prefer that. Yeah, it's
I
good. She
genuinely
doesn't
hate
care.
spoilers, if anyone cares.
And you also
There is
like,
incredibly-
not to mention, like, you increase the chances of spoilers. Like, just don't get spoiled. It's not that fucking hard.
Oh my god, fuck off.
I mean, when people are going through Reddit threads and like spoiling things, like
I have
out of
never been
nowhere,
spoiled
like,
on something
where
I
you're
didn't
not
want to.
expected.
It's easy for me
time
because I'm like
that's
the least
good for
active person on any
I'm
kind of
very
social
active
media.
in online communities, I feel like, and I have never spoiled on anything.
The time between like an episode 1 of The Walking Dead and like episode 5 or whatever of the first season is so much longer than like the time of like an initial release to me figuring out if I want to buy it or not based on like reviews. So yeah, that completely increases the odds by like
Yeah,
a factor of however much.
At that point, if I had any interest initially, and like when I finally realized, like, oh, like the whole thing's out now, it's like I don't really care anymore. I don't know.
I don't know. That's just like
I completely disagree with that. Episodic, everything should be episodic.
obviously.
No,
Okay.
that's fucking nonsense.
That's dumb.
No, not really, but like episodic.
Like,
episodic.
Final Fantasy
We're not
VII
even
has
mentioning
no
the fact
reason
that it makes development way cheaper
To be
too,
episodic.
and like way more efficient.
What?
It's not cheaper.
That is not cheaper.
That's not
I-
true.
If you put out an episode and people pay for it, then you have more money. To
Yeah,
put
that
into
explains
the
why
game.
a game like Final Fantasy
much
VII
less-
is
Oh,
coming out.
I thought you meant
yeah,
it's
in
cheaper for the
episodes.
consumer.
It's also cheaper for the
Oh,
consumer too.
No,
It
it's
isn't.
No.
It is.
That's wrong. No.
It is not.
How
What
is
do
it
we know what the
not?
price tag is going to be
You
on
have to
using?
buy each and every.
You can buy a
episode.
season pass, which is the same price as a full game, or if the only way it's cheaper is if you don't like the first episode, you just don't have to buy it, and there's no sunken cost.
I mean,
It's exactly
I
the
would
same
hope that
price
I
for the
don't
consumer.
dislike it. Like, I don't
that
want
kinda
to save
contributes
money
to
by not liking it.
David's argument of, well, you don't know if the second episode is going to be good, so do you really want to spend $60? But
Well, that's not what
I
I'm
think
saying.
that
I'm
argument
saying,
applies
like,
to normal
that's
games
every
as
game.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm
So
saying
it's
is, like,
kinda-
if you buy it episodically and you buy the first episode, then you don't have to, like, and you don't like it, then you don't have to buy the rest of it.
Yeah, but you're paying
Yeah, but-
$30
but
for
then it's
episode
like-
1 or
That's
$60
not-
for all of the episodes.
How does that
which
not
is
make
like,
sense?
That's not a good way. No, it makes sense. But that's not a good way to save money.
I mean, that's the equivalent. If the whole game came out, I just bought a whole game, didn't like the first 5 hours of it, and now I have a sunken cost. It's the exact same thing.
But it's much easier to gauge whether or not you're going to like the whole experience if it's a full release because of how reviews work.
I don't think
and
I've ever
things.
bought a game that I just started
And
and
there-
was like, I hate this.
There are objectively like episodes of like The Walking Dead and Telltale games that are worse than others in the same series. So like
that to me
It's-
is not
it's-
much different than sequels, though. It's like they're trilogies or games that
Well,
have
no, but,
multiple
like, they're-
iterations that...
you're right, but like at the same time, like they are not usually as like strictly like this is a direct continuation of the exact thing that you were just done playing. Like a Halo 2 is like, yeah, it's a direct continuation of Halo 1, but like Dishonored 2 isn't necessarily like you could play it without having played Dishonored 1. Episodes are not like that. They are very much like you can't jump in at episode 3.
I mean, you
Games
can play
usually can jump
Halo
in during
2
the sequel.
as if you didn't play Halo 1 just as
Whatever.
much as Dishonored 2
It,
to
you
Dishonored
know
1.
what I'm saying. Like you know what I'm trying to get at. Like Persona 5 you can play without playing Persona 4, but you can't play
I mean,
The
those are,
Walking
like,
Dead episode
anthologies,
2
though, right?
without
Yeah, those
playing.
aren't like
That's what I mean.
those aren't sequels.
That's what I mean. Oh my god, yes they are.
Yeah, but David...
They're not like the same
you can
kind
look,
of. They're not. Yeah.
You can take any one of the Persona titles and compare them, and if you're ranking them, one of them has to be worse than the others, which is what you're saying about episodic games. That's
But you're
always
not
going to be a
invested
thing.
in the story of Persona 1 through 5 like you would be with episode 1 of Walking Dead, and then episode 2 sucks, so like fuck, I don't want to buy it now.
Okay,
but
so
I
that's a
have to
bad
if I wanna-
comparison. Use Uncharted or fucking Mass Effect or anything where the story actually continues through the different sequels. You're going to have to, if you're ranking them, one is going to be worse than the others. That's always going to be
Yeah, I
true
don't
of something
get
where
this
there's...
argument you're making, David.
Whatever.
I
And
mean,
they
it's
just
that
fucking
one makes
released it
less
as a
sense than what
goddamn
you were
full
saying before.
game. Like I don't know what the problem is.
Like Hitman
Well, and-
is it should be just a game. Like I can understand like Telltale games obviously, but Hitman is just you're just buying levels. You're buying the next level. Like that's like
Literally.
paying for like
All right, so
a
here's
Mario
the
game.
other option would have been Hitman had just come out today. Like,
What?
because now it's
no,
all out.
they would have come out when they released the definitive
Right,
edition
but-
like 3 years ago.
They released the that's what we're talking about is the definitive edition, isn't
They
it?
released a complete edition where you could just download all the episodes though.
All right, but whatever that was, like that was still a year after the initial episode came out, right?
Yeah, and it was received a lot better because of its completion, like its completeness.
What that was
People bought it.
received initially after the first episode came out. So then there's a whole year in which the developer is not getting paid for anything for creating this game, as opposed to
So,
releasing it episodically.
By that logic, every game should be early access, and we should just start paying the developers as soon as possible.
You cut out. I'm sorry.
Because it's better. By that logic, everything should be early access, and we should pay the developers.
No, I don't. I'm not saying every episodic game is good. I'm saying Hitman, like from what I haven't even played it, but like from what I've heard from people, it seems like it was a fine game.
It's fantastic as far as like I'm concerned. Like I love the game, but I bought the complete edition because I fucking hate buying pieces of games.
Except
like,
you had to download each episode individually.
Yeah, it was a pain in the fucking ass.
Oh my, that's like the fucking worst first world fucking problem argument.
Wham!
Sure,
Like,
we're fucking
fuck you.
Our fucking
I hate that
hobby
fucking
is
argument.
like a first world fucking hobby.
Like I had to press the download button 5 times. Oh god.
Dude,
No,
you're not
it's
allowed to be
just-
unhappy.
Woe
You
is
don't have
me!
cancer.
I feel like you're just being a little
Yeah,
baby.
like you don't have.
No,
As
because that's
bad
the discussion.
problems as-
That's why I don't like episodic things, because they're fucking convoluted and they don't feel like complete products to me. So whatever. Yeah, fuck them. We can move on.
The only case I can think of where I don't like episodic is like Final Fantasy VII. Like I should not be paying that much for episodes
It
of
reminds
a
me
game
of-
that should be released together.
The picture of like the Mona Lisa, like games in 2006, like the whole Mona Lisa, games in 2014, like half the Mona Lisa, and then the rest is like DLC and like season
But
passes
you're
and
acting
shit.
like you pay more for it. You don't. It's the same price.
You do.
You don't.
Do we know the
definitely-
price tag on the Final Fantasy VII episodes yet?
The Final Fantasy thing is a different thing. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about The Walking Dead.
That doesn't fit his narrative, so it doesn't.
That
count.
one in particular
I'm
is like a
literally
bad
saying the
example
Final
of
Fantasy
episodes.
15 thing is bad.
Yeah. That's the only one I can think of that's not good.
Then your argument of them always being better, it doesn't hold up.
I never said that. Like, unironically.
I
The
thought you
exception
said
that proves the rule, dude.
He said it, but it was ironic.
Oh,
I
it was
fucking
ironic.
went every game should. Oh my god, go back and look at the fucking tape. I'm not gonna sit here
you.
and be fucking told that I was being 100% serious.
I am
when
not going to fucking pay developers for fucking commissions for finishing their goddamn game. Just give me the whole fucking thing, and I'll pay you then. If not,
That's
I will just
fine,
wait.
and you can still do that if it's episodic.
But then all I'm saying is I would rather they just release complete games because that's all I'm buying anyways.
Yeah.
So that I can't comprehend.
He's
How
saying if he's
things-
just gonna buy it when it's already all out, like.
Then why do you care if it
wouldn't
came
they
out
just-
episodically before that?
Because in my opinion, it's not worth it to buy. Like my argument is backed up by my purchasing practices. I don't know what's so hard to comprehend there.
But like, why do you care if a game came out episodically if you're just buying it at the end?
because it's easy to spoil. I have to fucking wait ages after everybody's already in the zeitgeist of playing the
Yep.
first episode, and everybody's already talked about it to fucking death. And then by the time I fucking buy it and play the whole thing, I'm like, hey guys, what'd you think of it? Oh, we already fucking played the first 3/4 of this goddamn game. Shut up. Like, fuck off. No, it's awful. Just release it all at once. It's so much simpler.
So
I don't
you're
have to go
upset
through the
you
store
can't be a part of the
page.
zeitgeist?
Yes, I
That's
love that.
important to him.
I'm not
love
saying it's
the
not. I'm
zeitgeist.
just saying that's the
Yes,
reason.
know.
that's a big part also.
Okay. No, at no place in your argument did you ever say that until just
You
now.
definitely-
I'm bad at arguing, but that is definitely a part of it.
All right, that is a more cohesive argument, I think, than anything you've said until now.
Well, okay, that
Your
is a
argument
big
before
part.
is I have to press the download button 5 times. How
I
is
mean,
this
that
possible?
wasn't like an actual
The arguments just come to
argument
me, but
for
yes,
why
the
it's
zeitgeist
bad.
is also a huge part of it because if I don't want to pay for the first episode thinking that maybe the rest won't be as good and everybody's already talking about it, I feel like by the time it all comes out, I'm kind of just like I got the scraps, I get like the game as it's just been out forever, so it's
That
like,
makes
whatever.
sense. For me though, again, I don't give a shit about
That's fine.
playing
but,
something
like,
when it.
I care about the zeitgeist, so I sympathize with that argument. The other arguments you make are
There
terrible.
you go.
All right, well, there's all of them. You can pick which one you like the
That one
best.
is the best.
I mean, I
I still
sympathize, but I'm
disagree
like
with you,
almost
but-
always late to that anyway. So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me that much.
This next story is about Spyro. The remaster is coming. It says, where's this from, Aaron?
Michael McWhorter from Polygon.
Polygon. He says, after the commercial success of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Activision is bringing back another classic PlayStation-era character, Spyro the Dragon. Spyro Reignited Trilogy, which, aside, I think that's a terrible subtitle for the game.
No, it's
Reignited.
I think it's good.
Why?
I hate it so much.
I think it's
Insane
fine.
was so good,
Makes sense.
and Reignited
mean,
is so lazy.
Reignited.
No,
makes
Reignited
sense
is good,
because he's
yeah.
a dragon.
That's just like, oh, there's
fire
fire.
and shit.
Like, Insane had something
Yeah.
based in the lore.
The lower.
But
The
there was
Crash
something, there was
Bandicoot
in whatever.
lore.
You know what I'm
The
saying?
lore.
It's
I
better.
mean, it's a motif.
Yes.
is the word you wrote.
It's fine.
fair.
is coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One on September 21st. Activision announced today. The collection will include the first 3 games in the series, Spyro the Dragon, Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, Spyro Year of the Dragon, in remastered form. Those 3 games were originally developed by Insomniac, which is since moved on to Ratchet & Clank and is now developing this year's Spider-Man, which we'll talk about in a second. The developer of Spyro the Dragon Reignited Trilogy is Toys to Bob, which created Activision's Skylanders franchise and is handling the remastering duties on the Spyro trilogy as well as porting the Crash Bandicoot trilogy to Nintendo Switch. Thoughts?
Cool.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited as well. I love the way
really
Spyro
like-
looks in the new one. I also love the art style. I think it looks really, really cool. It just looks super fun, super cute.
I think it looks great. And I had this conversation with CJ, and he thinks it looks like garbage.
I love
I
the way it
was
looks.
wrong. It doesn't look terrible. It doesn't
Okay,
look great
thank
though.
I think it looks.
It's fine.
I think it looks
Great.
great
I
for
think it
what
looks
it
great.
is.
Yeah, I mean,
And I like people are saying, oh, well, they ruined the art style. I'm like, the art style was like based on a lack of basic lighting technology, and the reason that it all
Yeah.
looked full bright and matte and colorful, and I liked that look, to be fair, was because the PS1 could not fucking handle anything else.
I
think they've
feel
done
like that
the
was
best.
part of the appeal of it, and that's part of the nostalgia
course.
of it.
sure.
Of course, but I think the new art style, and especially Spyro's design, is very good. I actually prefer it even to Crash Bandicoot's redesign.
See, I thought Crash Bandicoot looked cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but I like Spyro because I think Spyro's is like the most faithful adaptation of that kind that we've seen in recent memory. So I think it looks amazing. I played the fuck out of Spyro 1, and I was one of those kids who didn't have a PS. I had a PS2, so I couldn't save the game on my PS2, so I had to restart it every time. So I played that first level like a fuck ton. So that part's gonna be awesome. The rest of it is gonna be totally. I thought Spyro 3 was supposed to be bad, but I just looked it up and it has like a 91 on Metacritic. So I guess they're all really good.
Fine.
I mean, apparently they're amazing. I'm
didn't-
really excited.
I didn't love them back when I was a kid.
I like older games, and I like revisiting games. So this is. I didn't like Crash, so this is definitely going to be the one that I pick up.
Cheyenne, do you care at all?
Nope, never played them.
Cool. Moving on to another game that is actually being developed by Insomniac is Spider-Man. This is quick hits, David. Quick
Yep.
hits.
Yep.
Spider-Man
Am I
has
supposed
release
to say
date.
something?
Where's this coming from, Aaron?
It's IGN Joe's Screebles again.
Screbbles.
Screbbles. How do you know this? Have you
He's
met
on a
Joe
podcast
Screbbles?
that I've heard.
I gotta piss. How unfortunate.
Too bad.
Do you want to go? Do you have anything to say? All right,
No,
Spider-Man.
no.
Marvel Spider-Man will release on PlayStation 4 on September 7th, and pre-orders are now open. Insomniac announced the release date alongside the box art and details of DLC and what comes in the digital, deluxe, and collector's edition. The game's post-launch DLC will come in the form of a 3-part campaign, God forbid it's episodic, called Marvel Spider-Man: The City That Never Sleeps, which will come with new missions, new villains, characters, and additional suits for Spider-Man. Is that a good date for it, David? So you can go pee?
I'm not gonna go pee. I'm fine.
Okay.
Either it was pushed up to miss Red Dead 2, or they had this plan the whole time, and that's great. So we will find out when it releases if it is incomplete by like a little amount. I'm not totally sold on the new Spider-Man. Everybody's like fucking hyping it to death, and I'm like, can we just chill the fuck out about Spider-Man? Especially because I don't know, it looks fine. But like the first gameplay trailer we saw was like all QTEs.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm
this
kinda
one
like-
isn't.
I mean, yeah, because this trailer doesn't have a UI, so we don't know how much of it was.
I mean, I feel like that's the point.
I am extremely hyped for this game,
Yeah,
and you will
same.
not kill my hype.
Everyone is, and I'm just
'Cause
like,
it looks
I really
fucking
hope it's
awesome.
great because I
I
love
don't
Spider-Man
care
games.
about
It looks like the
Spider-Man-
Spider-Man game everybody has wanted for fucking decades.
I got that game. It was Spider-Man 2 on
And this
GameCube.
looks
It was
like
fucking
Spider-Man 2
fantastic.
with more
I
shit.
never wanted a Spider-Man game, so
That's where you fucked
Who's
up, because
really
Spider-Man
winning
is
here?
top 3 superhero.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Oh,
have. That's
no.
true. It is actually number 1 for me.
no.
Name 3 superheroes better. I'll wait.
Can I name villains?
No, I said
That are better.
superheroes. The fuck are you talking about?
But the villains are always better.
It's like Spider-Man for me.
Oh, he's number 1.
Oh yeah, like always for me. I've always loved Spider-Man.
It's like
I
Batman
don't like
and
Marvel
Spider-Man,
or
and then
stuff.
the rest.
It's probably Spider-Man, Batman, fucking.
I actually like
I don't-
Spider-Gwen a lot too, the fucking like alternate universe shit, but that's like a whole
That's
other
one
thing.
where he's in like Vietnam.
Nah, he's
Is that a
dead
thing? I
in
just
Spider-Gwen.
guessed.
I don't think that's true at all.
You never know.
But it looks like there's no moon swinging, which is fantastic. You actually attach to buildings with your web.
Mm-hmm. It's got a
Spider-Man 2
dense
did
world.
that. Huh?
It's got a dense world for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am expecting great things from Insomniac, creators of Spyro the Dragon. Probably won't have their names on the remaster though.
Yeah,
Like,
they will, dude.
surface
It had
level-
Naughty Dog's name on the fucking remaster.
In like the credits, right? Like as a special.
Yeah, in like
thanks,
the
Naughty
credits
Dog,
where
for
they
making the
credited who
game.
made it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
What the fuck are
I'm
they supposed
glad
to
you
do?
guys are
Call it like
excited
it's like fucking a Sid Meier game with like Naughty Dog's fucking Crash Bandicoot? Where the
Well, I
fuck
don't know
else would
who's-
they be but the credits?
Who's remastering Spyro?
Spyro? Toys for Bob.
Yes.
I
of
don't
course.
believe you. That's not the name of a
I
studio.
read the
is,
story 5 seconds
It's
ago.
definitely Toys
He
for Bob.
doesn't hear you.
They're also
Alright.
doing the Switch port for Crash.
They're also doing the Switch port for Crash. I know, I said that.
Where's the switchboard for Spyro?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm
God,
sure
I'm
it'll
so
come
fucking
eventually.
sick of Port Big. I'm so fucking. Every time I go to Twitter, I'm just like, shut the fuck up. You people are just so annoying.
I don't know, that's fine.
By you people, do you just mean Drew?
No, just all the
rude.
Switch port bakers. I'm like, not everything comes to your fucking console. I'm sorry. Like, just wait, and it probably will. But
I don't know. I don't have a problem
don't
with it. Doesn't really bother me.
yeah,
I don't
a
have this
personal
short
vendetta.
fuse apparently that fucking sets me off like you do. But Aaron, you're hyped for Spider-Man?
Oh, extremely. It looks to like surface level. It looks to me like if you took the Arkham games and like Infamous and just combine them,
Yeah.
you have like the free range movement and not necessarily combat, but like the free range just go wherever the fuck you want in the city, like you do in Infamous, and then the combat of the Arkham games.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's like a perfect like melding together because like the last game Insomniac did that wasn't like they did the Ratchet and Clank like remaster that wasn't a remaster kind of thing, or a remake that wasn't a remake kind of thing.
That game was great.
And that game was great. Then before that, they did fucking Sunset Overdrive, which for the problems it might have had like with the storytelling and like making me not care about the character and stuff, the movement in that game is fucking fantastic. And like just
Is
like
it? Okay, that's
constantly
very
being
promising.
like you in that game, like the only way you die in that game is if you slow down, like, and so like you're constantly have to be in motion, and like they made that feel super
So you think
fun.
that bodes well for the movement of Spider-Man?
Yeah, that made and like which I feel like is one of the core tenets of a good Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Excited.
Of course, that's like
September
the- it
7th.
lives in
This
that.
also like small mini topic here. On September 4th, Dragon Age 11 comes out. On September 7th, Spider-Man comes out. On September 14th, Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes out. And then on September 21st, Spyro comes out.
So, you guys know I'm a microbiologist. So I have
This is hold on.
thing-
This is another installment of Science with Chucky B.
Yeah, that's me. So I'm a microbiologist, and there is something called a zone of inhibition. When you have plated bacteria in a lawn, which means that the bacteria cover the whole plate,
Like a garden gnome.
and yeah, they're
In your
just
lawn.
covering the whole plate, and there's bacteria everywhere. And you place a disc of antibiotic onto the lawn.
Penicillin.
Sure.
Sure.
A zone will form around it, a circle where the bacteria will not grow.
That makes sense.
Rockstar have created a zone of inhibition of the entire month of October for video games. No one will release a game in October. They have all been pushed to either September or November, and we will not see any games trying to compete with that. And I just think that that's so interesting. And I can't tell if these games are being pushed up because they're just trying to avoid it and they're not going to be finished and they're going to have huge like day one patches, or if that was their plan all along, that I'm sure they'll all be
Rockstar are
saying.
fucking gods, and literally like, what would you
I
guys
would-
do if Red Dead 2 came out and it was just bad?
Dog shit. I
That'd
would
be
just
what-
fucking-
dude, like I have a hot take cooking up where not like the show, but like just in my head where that like what if Red Dead 2 is bad and like no one cares? Like it's like a Fallout 4 kind of situation.
I have that same like kind of apprehension about about Death Stranding. What if it turns out
Death Stranding
Kojima has
is
just
like-
Shut. This game's gonna be great. This game's gonna be great.
that game
It's
might
gonna
not be
10
great,
out of
but
10.
it's
what
not
if,
coming out
dude?
for
What if it
Friday.
turns out Kojima was a hack all along?
No, he wasn't.
Not
What
saying
if
he
that was
is,
something,
but
man?
just what if?
Fallout 4 has an 87 on Metacritic.
Yeah, it got received pretty well.
How is
Why?
this possible?
It got received.
This
pretty
is
Why?
corrupt. This is
Corrupt.
this is very
well.
problematic.
Fucking
I
Gamergate
cannot
David over here.
believe
Can you
that.
get the fuck out of
I
here?
cannot
I mean-
believe that.
It wasn't a
Fuck.
great game.
It deserves like a
I
6.
didn't like it that much
Yeah.
either, but other people enjoyed it. But like it
Maybe a
hasn't had the
7.
same legs as Fallout 3. That is for sure. Or
Jesus.
Skyrim. I would say.
Anyways,
coming back to that September, I feel bad for Tomb Raider, man. They keep getting fucked because it's gonna get buried by Spider-Man, just like it got buried by Fallout 4. The last
Tomb Raider?
one. Yeah.
Those games don't deserve to sell well.
Fuck you, dude. Those games are awesome. Those games are better Uncharted.
Incredibly trite as fuck.
Just trying to see them.
Have you ever played
That
them?
game? Yes, I played the first one. It was incredibly boring. It was so boring.
Have you played the second one?
No. I came off of Uncharted and went to Tomb Raider, and I was like, this sucks compared to like the other game that is obviously aping off. It sucks.
No.
She's like you know how like in Uncharted you're like it's funny because like Drake is killing like dozens and dozens of people, and he's like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
it,
there
just
is
doesn't
like
say anything
lunar
about it.
dissonance in the first Tomb Raider where she like cries about killing the first guy and then just starts mass murdering people. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she just keeps fucking murdering people. It's hilarious. Like
She's
it's
gotta
so
survive,
stupid.
dude.
Those games are so stupid.
A survivor
and,
is
they don't feel
born.
good to play. They don't they just don't do anything for me. They're just so like.
Dude, no,
You liked
also,
Uncharted,
you
though, right?
should play Tomb
Serviceable.
Raider 2. It is infinitely better than the first one.
Okay, I will. But like the first one did not do it for me.
Tomb Raider 2 is like fucking awesome. Or Tomb Raider, whatever the fuck they called it.
I like the
I mean,
first
I'm
one,
sure
and
it's on,
honestly
like,
have not
sale or
played that
something.
one.
I'll check it out.
And like I feel very bad for Tomb Raider 3 because it's gonna get shat on again.
It better do something cool.
The
like,
second one did, man. There's
The
like these
third one
big
has
like
shown
open world like kind of
nothing that,
areas.
Like, looks innovative at all. It's just,
It's completely like it is better than Uncharted 4.
Maybe I haven't played it. I don't know.
It is like
But-
the weapon crafting system is like very customizable. Like
Crafting. Oh fuck, the crafting too was just so fucking like. Why is this here? Like, why have me craft arrows and shit? It just like
what the fuck?
Ugh.
Why even play games? Why not just watch movies?
Spider-Man?
because like it just didn't. It just felt mandatory. It didn't feel like I was like earning.
Yes, it
anything.
was
just felt
mandatory.
You liked Horizon, right, David? Where you had to constantly craft arrows.
That's true, but Horizon also had fucking robot dinosaurs, so maybe I forgave it for that. Like Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider, you
just,
get to
That
see her
is so
fucking get
fucking
impaled
good.
through the head with a fucking tree branch.
That was
Dude, that
brutal
was
as fuck.
fucked up. The first time I saw that, it was so
I don't understand
shocking.
why those are in there. It makes no sense.
Those are worse than Dead
It
Space.
was like some. I was about to say it was like some
It's
Dead
fucking
Space
high
shit.
key, like Dead Space has nothing on.
Like
it.
I thought, like I was like, oh, this waterfall part's pretty hard. I hope I don't.
It like
fuck up.
actually nauseated
And then
me
like
the first
she
time I
gets
saw
stabbed
it.
in the stomach and her intestines pop out the back end like
No,
a
and
fucking
she gets
Mortal
one up
Kombat
like the
fatality.
chin, like and
That's
her
the worst
fucking
one.
brain,
Yeah.
and she
Oh
just like
my
tries to
God.
Yeah,
grab
she's like,
it. I'm like,
Oh my god.
God.
Let's stop talking about this. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Divinity 2.
how did we get here?
Divinity 2
Divinity 2,
coming to consoles.
great fucking game that I
Yeah,
never finished.
Where's this story coming from, Aaron?
GameSpot, but I just closed it because I thought we were skipping it. So I
Do you
dumped
want to
more
skip it?
Hussein.
Divinity 2 is coming to consoles.
No,
October.
we're talking about it.
We talked about it.
No!
We
I
talked
thought.
about fucking Spider-Man for 6 years.
Yeah,
Let's
because
talk
that's
about
probably,
something
like,
I
a
care
more
about
important
for
game.
once.
I'm going to double tip. We are all going to play it and have a
I
wonderful
swear to God,
campaign.
if you guys don't play this fucking game with me, I'm gonna be so upset.
It's
I
so
almost don't want to, despite you people.
Please,
You're dumb.
though.
You're
Please
so dumb.
play it.
Where's the
It's
story
a
coming from?
fantastic RPG.
Aaron.
What's that?
Never mind. It's coming out
We can
October
reopen
2018. It has 4-player online co-op and everything included in the PC version, as well as 2-player.
I'm sorry, I did not
sports.
hear you when you asked me that.
Fine, whatever.
I
That's
can't wait, and I'm gonna play it with people from my Discord. I'm gonna be playing this game 10 times because I just love it, and I love the people that I can play it with.
I'm sure.
Next.
I'm sure it's fine. Far Cry
Next.
5 is selling well though. Where's the story coming from, Aaron?
GamesIndustry.biz.
They
and
are
that is
telling us
Brendan
that
Sinclair.
Ubisoft virtual recreation of Montana might receive more tourists this year than the real thing. The publisher announced today that Far Cry 5 doubled the first week sell-through of Far Cry 4, and in the process earning the title of the fastest-selling game in the franchise's history. In fact, Far Cry 5 was the second biggest launch ever for Ubisoft. Do we know what the first one is? If we don't read the story,
I didn't read it.
off
It
top,
is-
does anybody know the best
course you
or
do.
fastest-selling Ubisoft franchise?
Ooh, I know
gotta
now
be
because I read it, but that's surprising.
Assassin's
No.
Creed.
The Division.
Oh,
We should all go back to the Division. I never played
I
it.
don't go back to fucking Tomb Raider. I don't want to play the fucking Division.
Why?
Fucking
It's
Joe
good now.
Farrow out there fucking yelling at me.
It's good.
Get
now.
the fuck out of here. I don't want to play that shit.
All right.
Far Cry 5 was the second biggest launch ever for Ubisoft with 310 million in consumer spending during its first week, second only to the 26 underscoring the largest user. Far Cry 5 is selling well. People like going to Montana and killing the cult. Is this surprising anybody?
Actually, yes. I did not expect a Far Cry game set in America to sell this well. I thought people mostly play those games to like for their locales and like how like exotic and fun they were and crazy it was. I'm really surprised to see the 5th game in the series getting, it didn't critically it wasn't received as well as the other ones. I wasn't expecting it to sell well for that reason, and kind of the fact that it was set in a more mundane for Americans or whatever and Europeans, because like it's very something that you would
Montana not the headline state of the United States.
I think that
no, right,
that is in a form 42nd place in terms of states.
That is surprising to me. I'm happy for them because I really liked the game, and I think it did a lot right. So yeah, I think it's awesome, and I think that people don't have Far Cry anxiety like they might have feared. There was a lot of discussion about that, like, how many Far Cry games can they pump out that are very similar to each other, and that's something worth talking about. But yeah, I am surprised, to be fair.
Part of the good sales might also be that there aren't a whole lot of other big games like that to be playing right now.
Yeah, it's also the time of year, and the fact that it is the release last month.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, for sure the biggest release of March.
I'm gonna go pee. Riff.
Okay, bye.
All right. Yeah, this is perfect. This is when David should step out, because we're talking about the gender pay gap in Rockstar game, or at Rockstar in the UK. This story comes from where?
Kotaku, Ethan Gatch.
Ethan Gatch. He wrote a story discussing the gender pay gap at Rockstar. He says, a number of gaming companies in the UK employ women in roles which on average pay less than the ones of their male colleagues, and according to a new UK government database, Grand Theft Auto makers Rockstar North, the gap is particularly large. At the studio based in Edinburgh? I don't know.
Yeah.
Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm going to say Borough. Scotland, the average hourly rate for women is 64% lower than for men, while the median is 34% lower. This means that the average hourly compensation for female employees is 36 cents, or whatever the fuck a euro cent is, I'm not really sure, for every $1 $1 made by a man. The average or mean is calculated by, I know how to fucking know what math words mean. These figures and others are provided to the UK government as part of a new requirement. Companies in the country with 250 employees or more are now required by law to submit data on gender pay gaps within their workforce, which are then logged in a public database. What are you laughing at, David?
So my phone is turned all the way down, but I can still hear you out of it, and then I can hear you out of her headphones, and I can hear you out of my headphones.
Oh.
So it's like 3 CJs all saying the same thing all around me.
It's all logged in a public database. For comparison, Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe, Namco UK, and Electronic Arts all reported average hourly pay gaps between men and women in the low teens, with Namco being the highest of the three at 14% and Microsoft being the lowest at 12.8%. The UK's median gender pay gap across all industries is 18.4, according to the Office of National Statistics, as reported by the BBC. Thoughts?
That's real bad.
Yeah.
That's real bad, fam. That's a really big gap.
I am afraid I missed.
Yeah, we decided this would be the story to do without you.
Yeah, because you hate women.
That's true.
Especially, business women.
I'm sorry. This is across the entire company.
Yep.
Does this consider position?
Yeah.
At all or no?
This basically means this isn't that women at the same job as a man get paid less. This is that there are women and no higher up positions at the studio is what this means.
There are women at no higher up positions?
Or at much smaller wages than men if the wage gap is 64%.
Okay. Let's see. They offered an Did we read the explanation?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'll read it on my own. Go ahead. You guys can discuss.
Well, I
fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty much all there is to say is that's fucking awful, and it's already really difficult for women to get involved in any kind of video game development or just any tech company and work. It's already really difficult because you're being discriminated against, thinking she's not going to be as good with computers and programming and blah blah blah, and now if you do have that job, you're not really getting paid very well, and you're not getting to higher up positions, and you're not
Yeah, no, I think this is bad, and just generally shows the lack of diversity in higher up positions at these major companies that then reflects on the products that they make, which is why you see so many, especially out of Rockstar games. As much as I like GTA and stuff like that, a lot of those have like male power fantasies and like just generally like toxic.
I honestly want to know your opinion on this. I'm not trying to be an asshole. So what proportion of this? She's like sighing, like, what the
I'm
fuck
ready.
is he gonna say?
I'm just preparing myself. It's fine.
What proportion of this do you think is because of societal norms and that men are computer guys and women whatever the fuck just stay at home or work in like retail, whatever society thinks women should do? What proportion of this do you think is that compared to people who are hiring being like, I'm choosing you because you're a man and not because you're the most qualified?
I think a lot of it has to do with pregnancy, where if you look at like the fall off rates for women's like salaries, it's like around 25. When women get pregnant, it just fucking stagnates.
Yes, that is a huge part of the gender gap, from my understanding.
And
but
like that's not a problem with women
that-
because babies happen and you get pregnant.
It's a problem
Babies
with maternity
have
leave.
2 parents.
Yeah, and then that also. But yeah, maternity leave should be paid for everyone all
Well,
the
it's not
time.
just maternity leave. It's just generally like when companies are hiring people. If I'm going up
keep that
like
in
Aaron
mind.
and Cheyenne are interviewing for a job, and Cheyenne has a kid, I'm like, oh, well, she can't devote as much time to this job because she has a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the
But you-
societal problem.
Okay. I just don't think that the discrimination is necessarily happening at the level. I mean, of course, it's hard for me to like understand like what because you can't really what fraction of it really is just like like you're less qualified versus you're a woman. So like, and I know that that's like a big
That's
a big
literally,
like defense
people,
of like
people are just hiring
the-
people they think that are the most
yeah,
qualified.
it's like a bullshit
but
argument.
like,
But I
when
honestly
you
don't know.
when you honestly believe that that women cannot be as qualified as men, like you may not be actively like saying like, oh, she's a woman so she's not qualified. Like something in you has learned that.
I just have a hard time believing that Rockstar's like HR department is like, oh, that's a woman's name. Put her at the bottom.
That's
of the
not
stack
how,
of
like-
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying they're not doing it purposefully. I'm saying that somewhere in them, like, they just have that idea.
I still
And like no, and like the way gender pay gaps work is like it's not that this person is a woman's name on a resume that got sent into us, we're not going to hire them. It's a lot of like the way gender pay gaps are mainly happen is that women aren't in higher up because there's a glass ceiling, aren't higher up positions at companies, and the way you get into a higher up position at a company is not through like submitting a resume, it's through like internal promotion, and that doesn't happen as much because women's careers are often derailed due to motherhood, due to societal pressures, and how women
Not
should
to mention, it's already like
women should raise
difficult for women to ask for raises because that's not something that you're told you can do.
I mean,
And,
Charles,
like-
your point makes sense to me. I didn't realize that this wasn't an issue of like application. This is an issue of seniority and
I mean, that's how gender pay gaps are across the board. It's just that, like, women's... Like, if you look at, like, hourly... a lot of, like, the way gender pay gaps work is that, like, salary positions tend to highly favor men because they can work on more flexible schedules because of child rearing and stuff like that, because that's a societal norm we push onto women. And, like... So gender pay gap actually is, like... I know a lot of people are like, you don't even know what that is. Like, it is kind of a misnomer, but, like, at the same time, like, fuck you. Just fucking learn what it means. Like,
Yes.
I understand, like, to a degree, like, not the ins and outs, but, like, the idea of that being very much driven by maternity leave and societal expectation of women to be at home when they have a kid instead of the man. And so,
And even
yeah,
that if the man wants to take leave, like, he's going to be ridiculed by his coworkers.
Oh,
It's
paternity
not
leave
just
is not like a normal like general thing, I would say.
Yeah,
not
no.
at all.
Well, no, because we tell women that they are the ones that have to take care of children, they have to take care of other loved ones when, they're in the hospital, they're dying mothers, like, they have to be the ones that are the caretakers. And if men, like, are doing that, like, they're gonna be ridiculed by the people around them, they're gonna feel embarrassed about it, that's because it's not something that they're supposed to do.
Because they had a little dick, right, Aaron? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But just generally, I feel like the less societal part of this and more games part of this, like stuff like this is why we get so many fucking Bald Space Marine games. It's like if the people at the top are making these decisions, then therefore like the results end up being affected.
Well, that and the market.
Yeah, because we market them only to men.
The market being, hey, we need to sell this to white guys in their teens.
Yeah.
So.
And men aren't going to want to play as women or people of color if they're not people of color. They, like, a woman is more likely to be okay with playing as a man than a man is.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
Okay.
why, like, horror movies, they started marketing those to, like, teenage boys because, like, even though it's like a female protagonist, like, a lot of the time, like, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. I've lost my point, but...
All right, so after your
They-
point
yes.
is lost, we'll move on to the next story. We're skipping that one story. We're going on to Overwatch having a new PVE mode. Where's the story coming from, Aaron?
It's PC gamer Bo Moore.
You sound so enthusiastic.
That one.
Last year, the Overwatch Uprising event delved into Overwatch's history by giving players a chance to experience Tracer's first mission, the King's Row Uprising. This year, the event now officially named Overwatch Archives. Yeah, no.
Huh?
Yeah, that's the word archives, right? I'm looking dumb.
It is, but that's...
It's
thought it-
archives.
No.
It's called Retribution,
This-
isn't it?
Yeah.
Retribution.
Return. I don't know. Overwatch Retribution is a thing. It's a
Yes.
Blackwatch mission involving Reaper, Genji, McCree, and Moira that takes place approximately 1 year before the uprising. The mission takes place in Venice, Italy, on a map called Italian word. With the Blackwatch team fighting against the forces of
Risotto.
Talon following the Retribution event. Italian word will also be introduced as a PvP map, though it will first make its appearance in the PTR for some testing.
Also, quick note,
Cheyenne, I know
Archives
you're
is
not
like the...
as our general Overwatch correspondent
Is it?
as much anymore, but what do you think of this?
The new Moira skin is cool, and there's some cool robot dude with swords that's like an actual robot, like Omnic version of Genji, and it's hot. And that's about all I know about it.
Cool. Are we gonna play this, Aaron? Me and you, just me and you.
I mean, I would like to, but no, probably not.
All right, cool. This one I'm gonna let David talk about. It's Monster Hunter stuff happening.
So the Spring Blossom event just started in Monster Hunter. It started on today, actually. I mean, technically it started last night, so on the 5th. But it's the Spring Blossom event. It's happening right now, and basically what that means is there is a big festival happening in the Gathering Hub. There's lots of flowers and blossoms, if you will, decorating the Gathering Hub, and all of the event quests from the past of Monster Hunter. So the Ryu skin quests, the Aloy skin quests, the Wiggler helmet
Wiggler.
quests, everything that has ever happened in the game that you can get special temporary tickets for to craft items is back for the time being. I think this goes until the 16th. I might be wrong on that. And there's also, and this is my favorite feature, a new greatsword. This is specific to the Spring Blossom event. It's called the Wyvern Ignition Greatsword, and it is a fan contest winner. Basically, the fans were commissioned to design new weapons, and the one that got the most votes was put into the game. And this one is a greatsword it's made out of steel, I think, and it's got rockets on the back of it that propel it forward. It's really fucking cool, and it's all I want to use now. It's probably the best greatsword in the game, which I'm glad that they made it good. And that got me back into the game quite a bit yesterday, and I plan on playing it a lot this weekend. So this event is it's there, and you can craft new armor. It's like a spiffy kind of vest suit for the men, and then a nice, pretty like dress for the women. Just kind of a nice, fancy spring attire costume. The stats aren't that good on it, but it's there regardless. So I know you guys don't play a lot of Monster Hunter anymore. I still love the game. I play it very frequently. So yeah, that's going on right now. If you guys are interested, that'll be happening at least for the next week.
Are there any new monsters as part of it?
No, but Devil Joe came out recently, and he got a tempered version as a part of a very limited time event, and that's in this as well. So you can fight tempered Devil Joe, which is Hell on Earth.
Cool.
It's very hard.
Cool. That brings us to our new weekly segment. What is it, Aaron?
16 types of video games.
Nope. The one above that.
The weekly FORTNITE news update. I'm sorry, I was not paying attention.
Now you do the theme song.
Boo.
Cool. They added vending machines to Fortnite. I think I'm pretty indifferent to them. They're not like
They're alright.
They're that great.
What about
but
the Comet?
the bigger thing is there is a comet, and what the fuck is happening with it? Something needs to happen.
If I have to feel the fucking vibrations in every single
Oh my
game
God.
I play for the next, 2 weeks...
You were
I'm
complaining
so-
about that, and it was an Easter egg. I think that's
maybe.
funny.
Yeah.
Are you familiar? Are you caught up on the
Definitely.
story, Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. So there's this comet, and it's just I want it to be nothing. I saw this tweet earlier. I wanted it to be nothing just so we're all look dumb for putting so much faith in this one random Reddit post that fucking somebody's like, it's Morse code, guys.
I don't know if it's Morse
I believe
code.
it.
It doesn't really feel like Morse code because it's just one vibration every
It has to
Whenever.
be. Why?
It'd be sick if it was like a new fucking just like dark purpley space map. Like on the fucking comet or something.
There's a comet in the
Oh, I
game,
want a
isn't there? You
space
can
map.
look up and see
Yeah,
it.
you can see the
That's what I'm
comet.
saying. The comet
Yes,
lands and it
there is a
becomes the new
comet.
map or
Yeah,
something.
so I mean, that's pretty much verified as far as I'm concerned.
What's verified?
The Reddit post.
That it's gonna. The Reddit post is that there is so throughout the game your controller vibrates, and
What came first, the Reddit post or the comet?
the comet came first, and then people are like, "What's going
Oh
on?"
well, never mind.
Then the Reddit post was like,
Disregard.
"Oh, when you vibrate the controller, it's Morse code, and it's saying SOS Tilted Towers."
Yeah, basically.
I have a hard time believing that there would be a controller vibration glitch in a game.
Oh yeah, that's
polished.
definitely not a glitch.
Yeah, it's very weird. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of telescopes around the game. They're all pointing to Tilted Towers, or pointing.
See,
at
I
the
don't want them to
comet.
destroy
The
Tilted
comet.
Towers. I would rather it be like a whole new map, but
Yeah,
that's
I
just
think
me, maybe.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
probably a temporary, week long.
Yeah, it'll probably be an event where they destroy because Tilted Towers, if you don't know, is the main point of interest in the game. And it's
Fucking annoying. Everyone goes there.
it not everyone is, but it is
A
a
lot
meme.
of people go there, but
I would say a quarter of the game goes there at the beginning, probably. I was
Yeah.
20 people. I don't know. It's interesting. That's all the no N-word stories in Fortnite this week. Very very good.
Oh no.
I mean there have been some.
Yeah, but they're not
things that
Fortnite
have
players,
happened,
right?
But no Fortnite.
Yeah,
N-word
no, I don't
moments.
care about dude playing Counter-Strike being a terrible fucking person.
What's the status on
Okay.
Ninja's apology that inevitably happened?
Yeah, we talked about it.
We read the apology last week.
I don't know where the fuck I was.
The ninja N-word
well.
and a Pootie Pie N-word, in my opinion, are different planes of existence.
Yeah, we also talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about that. I don't know. They're different planes of existence. Still don't
Yeah,
say the
they're
N
just-
They're
word.
different.
They are different.
They are
To a
different,
degree.
but don't say the N word.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
Not that hard.
Pretty simple.
Very easy.
End of story. Honestly, just don't do it. If it's
There
not
you
part
go.
of your vocabulary, it shouldn't slip out ever. It's easy.
It's
so whatever.
So easy. Anyway, then this next story is that's it for the news this week. Now we're checking out a cool story of the week. We like to do this. We like to
Stop
highlight
eating these mixed crackers.
a
They smell
cool
so
story
bad.
that we read every week, and this story comes from Kotaku, and I believe it's Kirk Hamilton. If I can get it up, yep.
As
It
fucking
is.
usual.
And why is that as fucking usual?
Kotaku.
Please.
What the hell? All the stories this week were from Kotaku. I feel like.
They were like
I'm keeping up the
GameSpot
meme of
this
hating
week.
Kotaku, even though I don't really.
But he put out a story that's the 16 type of video games, and these are all different. These aren't genres of games. These aren't RPG, puzzle games, stuff like that. These are the games and how they fit into your life, basically. So what he talks about is that every gamer has a mainstay, and every gamer has a time waster game, and a newsmaker game, and stuff like that. So I thought we'd go through the list, and we could say for each one a different game or something. We don't all have to be every one. But if you have a good game that fits into everyone, so yeah, just let's start with so the mainstay. This is your main game. It's the game you play every week, if not every day, and you feel like you play this game forever, either because it's designed to be endlessly replayable, or because you figured out an approach that makes it endlessly replayable. So
There's only one answer for me and Aaron.
Been playing that game for 12 years.
It's WoW.
yeah,
That is going to be the only time I mention WoW.
Mm-hmm.
But it is WoW. I've been playing this game for 12 years. Strong. Still play it. Plan on playing it after the podcast today. It is a forever
If
game.
not during
It
it.
is a forever game. And I just cannot... I love it. And I take breaks from it that are very long sometimes. But I always go back. And I always have fun. Arguably, this is also a podcast game. But I'm going to try to pick something else for that.
Mm-hmm.
But WoW is the game I have by far spent the most time in, and the game that I have returned to the most.
how about you, Cheyenne?
I thought that Overwatch was going to be that for me, but I just completely fell off of it for multiple reasons, one of which being that the community has gotten kind of, I hate to say toxic, but they're toxic. A lot of the times when you're playing a game, they'll be harassing you, and it's just and it's just not as fun being at one of the lower ranks. Like, the people that are staying are the higher ranked people that are playing, competitive, and being just kind of mediocre at the game just is not as fun as it used to be. But either way, I played Overwatch for about a year, and so that was mine, but I don't really have another one at the moment.
Yeah, I would say, as much as I play Fortnite now, I feel like that is just like a zeitgeist kind of thing for a lot of it, and I feel like if I had to pick a game for this, it would probably be Rocket League. I know we're on a big break and hiatus from it right now, but like,
I might never play that game again.
Why, man? Don't say that.
Because it just it isn't fun for me, because I take it too seriously, and it's like any competitive game for me, like Counter-Strike Go. I just had to stop playing because at a certain point, the community passes me up in skill, and for me, it's just more stress than it's worth to try to be good and like maintain that level of skill, and it starts to feel like a job or a chore and something that I feel obligated to do rather than something that I'm really enjoying. And I know I love Rocket League to death, still love it, still follow it, in the news and everything, but just had to get that off my chest, that like, it as a game, I love it and I appreciate it, but for me it's a source of major anxiety, and I've been happier without it, and it's sad, but that's the case.
Fair enough. Number 2, they got the Time Waster game. For me, he says like the name suggests, a Time Waster game is a game that you break out whenever you have a few minutes to kill, and it's almost always something you play on your phone. He mentions threes in here. That's a big one for me. I really like threes. But the number 1 here would be the game Peggle Blast, which is on mobile, which is just a terrible, terrible microtransaction heavy version of Peggle that EA shit out and like try to get as much money as possible on, and it's just so much fun. It's just I beat the game. I beat it. Like, that's absurd. That like there's like 500 levels,
Jesus.
And I just beat it.
Nice.
Did you spend any money on it?
No, never spent a single cent on it.
There was a Peggle like WoW extension a while back, and I played the shit out of Peggle inside of WoW when that was a thing. Yeah,
Peggle's fantastic. Do you guys have any like phone games that you would consider like time waster stuff?
I don't know if I'd consider it a time waster. There's another category I might put it in, which is the guilty pleasure, but kind of both. I play this dress up game on my phone. It's called Love Nikki. You're like this cool anime character girl with pink hair, and you get all these sweet things. I have spent money on it, and it's fucking great. And I will defend. Yes, you know this.
No, I didn't.
You did.
All right.
But it's fucking great. Love Nikki. It's a great dress-up game. I've always been a fan of dress-up games, so it's my thing.
The Fave is a beloved classic game in which you replay so often. His own faves include Far Cry 2, Half-Life 2. Do you guys have any faves that you go back to and just like play through like a narrative game every now and then?
Bloodborne.
It's
Bloodborne.
I've beaten that game like 15, 16 times, and I'm already itching to play it again.
You got any, Aaron?
Yeah, like all the Souls games, so like Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and definitely Inquisition for me. It's been a while since I've gone back to it, but I would like to again here soon. Yeah,
for me, I really like to play The Last of Us in the winter, up until the winter part, and then stop after the winter part. I've done that like 4 times. Like I do that like on a yearly basis. Like then after I do the winter part, I don't like to see the happy part. Well, not happy, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like when the weather clears up. The Traveler is a game you only play when you're on the go. Maybe it's a phone port of some involved RPG. Maybe it's a Switch port of a game you'll never play when you're in home options. I'm sure you guys felt this when Skyrim came to Switch, and you guys were fucking playing it all the fucking time.
A little bit.
Not even really that. I'd say the Traveler for me is probably... I don't know. I don't like handheld games that much. And I don't play games while I'm out that much.
Yeah, we also don't travel as much.
So I'm going to abstain from this category.
Yeah.
How about you? Got one, Aaron? No.
Not really. Just every now and then I'll take my Switch somewhere and I might play like a little bit of Rocket League or maybe Enter the Gungeon or something. But if we can call traveling me walking to my toilet, then absolutely it's definitely Rocket League or Enter the Gungeon.
That's fair. I like, you know, a game I bust out every now and then. I never finished it. I'm like as slow paced as you can playing this game is Golf Story. I still play that on my Switch whenever I'm in a car ride where I'm not driving and it's more than like a half hour. I bring my Switch along and I probably pop on Golf Story.
I love that game.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Cool.
The Socialite online. There's a game. This Socialite is a fun game, but you're really only playing it where your friends are. Blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But this is the online version of this. Do we all have a game like this?
It's got to be
I
Fortnite
mean,
for me because I don't
yeah.
even like that
That's
game.
it.
But
It's
sometimes I'll
Fortnite for
pop
me as
on.
well. I've discovered that I just don't like that game really, and I'm not good at it. I only play it with you guys sometimes because everyone plays
All our
it.
fucking friends play.
Yeah,
That's why we still got WoW,
Yeah.
Aaron. Me and you.
that's fair.
Yeah, Fortnite and
Fortnite.
Overwatch.
Yeah,
For
Fortnite's
me.
great. Yeah, Overwatch was a squad game for a
And
while.
Rocket
Yeah.
League
Well,
for
I
me.
mean, also like the people on my Discord server. Like, I probably wouldn't be playing Overwatch if it weren't for like the online community that I have
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
Yep.
This one is the Socialite, this local game that you keep around. Maybe I think a good one for us would be the I don't know Jack games, like fucking
All the Jackbox
I
games.
mean,
Jackbox
for you
Party
guys,
Pack
it's
games.
For all of
Smash,
us,
for-
like-
for
yeah. Smash was the other one I was
Xbox.
gonna say.
I think there's another
Smash.
category that Smash fits better though.
Okay,
I don't remember which one now, but
we'll keep going. The Newsmaker is a game you don't actually play, but you read a lot about. Maybe it's controversial in a fascinating way. Maybe you fell out of the habit of playing, but still you consider yourself part of the community. You guys have any games like this?
That's a lot of games for me because I don't play through a lot of the games, but like I'll watch other people play them. Like even like The Witcher 3. Like I was just reading about like Triss versus Yen, and like I've never played The Witcher 3, so
Yeah.
that's a
This
lot.
has
of
to
games
be Destiny 2 for me now. I just like to see how fucking hard they're fucking it up. Because, like, fuck that game forever. Like, I
Jesus
loved
Christ.
it.
I
to
feel like
death.
this is a dark Newsmaker fucking.
Yeah,
turn into-
it's just like Schadenfreude now. That or Sea of Thieves right now.
yeah, any of the like big zeitgeist games that I don't play, I just read, which is most of them, frankly, just because like I pick a game I really really like and I just stick to that one for a long time.
You're a latcher.
Yeah,
That's what they call them.
that's fair.
Oh, yeah, I'm the
in
same
my
way.
circles. The Spectator Sport, a game you don't actually play, but you watch it. Maybe you like watching pro level streamers or pro level players stream their tournaments. Maybe it's a game you like watching because the streamer is funny, or it's a story based game you prefer to experience as a let's play. You guys have anything for this? I think
I
mine
guess.
for this. I really like. I never bought it, never did anything with it, but like I watched a bunch of streamers play fucking Friday the 13th the game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. StarCraft, dude. StarCraft 2 tournaments are really
Yeah,
fun to
those
watch.
are
Yeah.
insane. I watched those also. Yep.
I mean, for me, it's the Binding of Isaac. Even though I have played it, I just
Yeah.
haven't.
Let's
Like
see.
I can watch Northern Lion play like a zillion episodes
Northern
of the Binding
Lion.
of Isaac, just because I like him, not necessarily for the game. Although I do like the game, I'm not very good at it, and he's just a fun person.
He
to
has
watch,
628 episodes of The Binding of Isaac
So.
Afterbirth
That's only
Plus.
Afterbirth Plus.
So he's got over 1,200 episodes of that.
That
game.
seems like a lot.
Easily.
The Ego Boost. This is a competitive game that you play sporadically, unless or usually when you're feeling low and want a quick victory fix. One time it might have been a mainstay, but these days you've moved on to other things. This could also fit for Rocket
This
League
is
for me.
what I was
Probably
thinking for
Rocket
Smash.
League
I think.
also.
I'm not good at any games, so I don't.
And
get
honestly-
an ego boost 'cause I don't win.
I don't know if it fits as well, but like even to some degree, the Souls games like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, because when you can fucking just jump in there and steamroll the first few bosses, like when you got like a friend or somebody over that's like not good at
Damn,
the game,
man.
it just makes you feel so
Yeah.
fucking good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that. The Podcaster. The Podcaster is what you play while you listen to podcasts or rewatch old TV shows or catch up on YouTube videos. It's a bit more involved than the Time Racer, but not so much that you can't turn the sound off and mostly focus on something else. Anybody got anything?
Diablo 2.
Probably Monster Hunter for me right now, just because
Or,
how
fuck.
comfortable I am with that game. And WoW.
Diablo
obviously.
2?
Diablo 3 is what I meant to say, but Diablo 2, yeah, that would work if I could play it.
Yeah. Stardew Valley probably also for me.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that's a
that's
good
also kind of my fave that I can go back to anytime. But like, I can just put on whatever and it's a comfy little time.
Dude, for me, I feel like I listen to podcasts during games way more often than most people. Like, if it's an open world game, there's a good chance I can listen to a podcast during it.
I can't do that all the time, but I will listen to like
Like
a
in
true
Far
crime
Cry,
podcast.
if it
Crime.
wasn't a main story quest or like some of the like more important side quests, you know what I'm saying? Like I was listening to a podcast during the majority
Nah,
of
I
that
can't
game.
do that.
For
all
me,
the
it's
time.
music. I don't listen to podcasts.
The
very
real
much.
answer is
I'll put on
WoW for
music.
me, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Honestly,
But yeah, you don't want to say
second screen
The
all
same,
the time. in WoW.
the WoW would also be the bad habit. You don't like the bad
no, WoW
habit.
fits like 8 of these categories.
I like
You can't
WoW.
quit
Yeah,
playing it
that's,
for.
that's my thing with the bad habit. Like the fucking dress up game that I play, I don't dislike it. I fucking love it, but it is kind of a guilty pleasure. Where like, yeah, I've spent money on it. It's fun. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't have a bad
Pego Blast definitely fits
Mine
into
is for
this.
sure Inquisition though, because after I platinumed that game, I probably beat it 2 more times.
Nah, I don't.
Damn.
I don't have a game that I regret playing at all.
The Guilty Pleasure is a game that, even though it's not good, you've read reviews, you've seen other people on message boards making fun of it, and you don't care, you're going to play it, damn it, and you don't mind if everyone says it sucks. Unlike The Bad Habit, though, you aren't in playing this game compulsively or out of a sense of obligation. You genuinely like it, and hey, whatever, maybe you have some trashier tastes or jankier aspects. For me, not that everybody feels this way. A lot of people really like PUBG, but like I don't really care that much about the jank in it. So much as I found it to be very innovative and stuff like that.
You know what?
Like this,
I want to swap this one with The Bad Habit. I think the guilty pleasure for me is Inquisition, because that's like that game definitely fucking has some problems, but I genuinely love that game.
Yeah.
The Bad Habit was for a while Andromeda, because like I was trying so hard to fucking force myself through that pile of hot fucking garbage, to eventually I just gave up. I was trying to platinum that game. I wanted to like it so bad, and I don't stop playing it.
Yeah, no, that was a huge mistake.
I never finished it.
I'm too picky to have like a guilty play. I really don't know about this. I think anybody that plays and likes Kingdom Hearts should have this as their pick.
That's fair.
So silly.
That's a good example. 13, the palate cleanser. Sometimes you want a substantive, interesting game to serve as a change of pace from the time wasters and mainstays in your life. Palate cleanser is usually a well-made, medium-length game. They often come in the form of indie studios or maybe pet projects for major publishers. For me, like he says Monument Valley in here. I think it's all like those cool little indie games are definitely palate cleansers for me. So Monument Valley, Florence that came out earlier this year, Gorogoa, which came out at the end of last year, I would consider palate cleansers.
Kingdom Hearts, because fuck David.
That's good.
Probably We Love Katamari.
Okay.
I fucking love the shit out of the game, and it's so unlike anything else that I've played. It's actually probably my favorite game. I say it's Bloodborne, but We Love Katamari, I just haven't had the chance. I don't have a PS2 anymore, so I need to probably pirate it or something. But,
dude, when we fucking hashtag Unleash the Dragon, that's going to be my new palate cleanser, because I'm going to be playing that game constantly.
Game's great, dude.
The Second Job. These are games that are designed like your job. They ask you to keep a bunch of things organized, delegate tasks, and keep the books balanced. If you run a small business or work in management, it may feel weird spending your downtime organizing or an operation in game dev story of SimCity. Do you guys have anything like this?
Factorio.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
Definitely.
Well, you have an answer other than WoW. I'm fucked.
Factorio is definitely like incredibly high maintenance, but so rewarding. Like I'll jump into that game. That could also be the time waster, but I really don't feel like it's wasted time because I feel like playing that game actively makes you smarter. Because it's just so fucking. That game is insane. That game is incredibly deep and rewards thought, and I think that is my best pick here.
The Mountaintop. Occasionally, you just want a challenge. More specifically, you want the feeling of accomplishment that comes from overcoming a challenge. Mountaintop games aren't light in commitment because they often go quickly. They often quickly go from gratifying to frustrating. Souls-like games and so on and so forth. Definitely, he mentions it later in this paragraph. Cuphead, fucking no.
The game is not that hard.
Fucking Cuphead, dude.
Your system is just fucked.
The game is harder than any of the Souls games, in my opinion.
No way.
I did not have anywhere near as much trouble with any of those as I did with Cuphead.
Yeah, Cuphead, no.
I beat Cuphead in like 5 hours.
I know. I fucking navel gazed. I was like, what the fuck? How did he?
For me though, this one was actually Persona 5 because I put off playing that game for so long just because it was fucking. It was hard for me to jump into that series.
Yeah.
And then I finally did it, and it's one of my like all-time favorite games.
Yeah.
I don't know what this would be. This would have to be like a competitive multiplayer game.
David's too good at games for anything to be his.
No, this would have to be like a Rocket League. Like this would have to be like me trying to get my diamond rewards or something in Rocket League. Because that, like, I am very easily frustrated by. It doesn't feel fun because it feels like I'm challenging myself, but that's kind of a good thing sometimes. Single player games, I don't like. I'm not trying to like be like a total jack off. Like I usually can just beat them. Like it's not something that I usually find myself like beating my head against the wall over. Because I traditionally challenge myself with games, but like competitive multiplayer games, like I've tried to just avoid because they are so. I'm just way too competitive. So that would have to be the style of game that this would be for me.
And then the Maybe Someday is a game you bought during a Steam sale that you swear you'll get around to after you play all these other games. And this game, obviously, for me, is Persona 5.
Yeah.
This is like half the games I own.
Very clear.
Yeah, I have a huge backlog.
Yeah.
Probably Final Fantasy 15 for me.
Witcher 3 for me.
I've had that on my list for like ever, and I have your copy, CJ.
You guys want to know a
Just sitting on my
shameful
shelf.
secret?
Yeah, bring it to me, Aaron.
I never finished Horizon.
Really? Fuck,
Yeah,
dude.
it's real good.
You should play the DLC. It's good. I didn't finish it though.
I'll be honest, dude. That
Yeah.
game does not grab me the way that it does everyone else in the world. I don't
That's
know
fair.
why.
I liked
It's-
it. It's
it's
not
fair.
like I understand, dude. I just like
No, it's like a revolution.
As someone
I feel
who
like.
genuinely loves like RPGs, especially just
Yeah, I'm
like
surprised.
third-person narrative-driven games, I
Mm-hmm.
did not care for Horizon.
dude.
I mean, I didn't not care, but that's dramatic. I liked it. I don't know what it was, but like every time I stopped playing it, I had to like force myself to go back to it.
Cool. Hey man, it's not for everybody. I understand that. But yeah, those are the 16 type of games as listed by Kotaku. I thought that was a fun little story, and that we had fun doing that. That brings us to the games which are out this week. Drew obviously usually does this topic, but since he's not here, we're gonna have Aaron do it. And there's not too much coming out this week, so Aaron, what do we got on the slate for us?
So we've got Owlboy coming out April 10th for PS4 and Xbox One, and then you also have Don't Starve, which is April 12th for the Switch.
Wait. Oh, it's coming to Switch. Sweet.
Yes.
That's a nice day for it to come out. I wonder what that day is. David?
It's a Thursday.
Yeah, it's a Thursday.
Probably, I didn't know that, to be
It's
honest.
your
I'd
No,
have to
it's
look
my
at the calendar.
birthday. He forgot my birthday. It's fine.
Oh.
But I did buy myself this cool Monster Hunter flask and these cool shot glasses of all of
But
the
he's
weapons
about to
that I
fucking
use.
take a shot of whiskey right now.
Mm.
Oh, he's just gonna sippy.
American
Was there
honey.
anything in that, or did you just
Yeah.
pantomime
No,
drink
he
something? Okay.
literally
American
just
honey
poured a
whiskey.
shot of whiskey.
Okay, cool.
It's good.
So yeah,
It's-
Owlboy Don't Starve coming out this week. Owlboy's a weird one
I need to
where
play
it was
Owlboy, but
supposed to come out, huh?
Owlboy, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it, like, but I really want to play it. It's like weird. I don't know. It just
Owlboy came out on PC last year after being in development for like 10 years.
it was like
And then
development forever.
came out on Switch in February. It was supposed to come to PS4, Xbox One in February. It just didn't for some reason. It was very weird. Like they announced it like 2 days before it was
Where
supposed
the
to come out.
fuck is my Hollow Knight for Switch?
I don't know, man. One of these days.
I haven't played my Switch in like a month.
One of these days.
I need a game.
I played like
That brings us to the what we are playing section. So that's World of Warcraft. I know, Aaron. You're still
yeah, I'm not
kicking along
gonna
in that.
stay on it for
with
very
that?
long.
I have
but
definitely
yeah,
been playing it more than him though.
So
Recently.
yeah,
That's
you guys tell
just
me
not
about it.
true. You just aren't on when I am. But I've been playing WoW. Nothing crazy. I remember last time I talked about like the allied races and stuff. David's pretty close to unlocking his, from what I've
Yeah.
heard. So I've been playing the Void Elves or whatever, and I think almost level 40 with mine.
Are you playing a female or a male?
The one I'm playing now is a male, but every other character I have on my fucking WoW account is a female for some
I'm gonna
reason.
make a male, even though I think the females are super cute.
They're just I like with the Void Elves and the Blood Elves. It depends on what class I am, but the female models are just so much smaller that for some classes the gear just like does not look good.
Okay, I'm gonna play a warlock. I'm gonna level a Void Elf warlock to 110 and probably main that for Battle for Azeroth. Because I have not played a DPS class in 3 expansions, and I am ready for some change. So
Yeah, you did. You played a shaman.
I'm kind of tired.
You
of
played
Shaman. I've been
Enhance
playing
on
this
your
since
shaman.
Wrath. Well, no, I mean, I guess I did main that in Legion. It doesn't matter. I want to play a pure DPS class. That's
I
what
have
I'm
never done that ever, so I'm excited to get my hunter to 110.
saying. Let's do it. Cool. So I have been playing a game called Minit. That has gotten a lot of press lately. I'm really surprised at how much press this game got. Probably because Devolver is publishing and they're very good with their marketing, and I love them and I stand them forever, and I think all of their games are great. Not all of them, but most of them. Minit is a game. It is an RPG that is it's a black and white RPG. It kind of
looks kinda like Downwell.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
Okay.
has a very
Jake.
8-bit style. Downwell is a good comparison. It is a game where you pick up a sword,
Weird.
and you can only live for 60 seconds at a time. And it's about a 4-hour game where every 60 seconds you die, no matter what. There's no preventing your death. So you leave your house and you have 60 seconds to get done whatever you can outside in the world before you perish. And there are a few little other houses where you can like have checkpoints where you respawn, but for the most part you are starting at one place and going off and doing as much as you can in 60 seconds. You have to have a goal in mind. It's honestly more like a puzzle game than an RPG. And I think realizing that is really going to shape your perception of what the game is like.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely worth playing. I really like it. It's not breaking any ground in its gameplay, but its gimmick is actually super. I think it's more than a gimmick. I think it's a really interesting take on like Majora's Mask's time frame where you have to have this much done. It's like that, but micro-sized. So you can have all these little micro adventures. I love it. I think it's great. I think it has a really good sense of humor, and the music is great. I'd highly recommend it to anybody that thinks that sounds cool. So yeah,
I'm interested in it. I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up. One thing, like, I do like timing, like, mechanisms in games generally. Like, I hate when games are like, I don't know. It's not a narrative problem. It's just, I mean, it kind of is. But like, I hate when games like Far Cry does this a bunch, where it's like the fucking factory is exploding. It's like, we got to get out of here. But there's no time limit on like how quickly you have to get out of it. That fucks. I hate that shit.
And Minit's time limit is narrative driven, so it makes sense. But it never felt constraining. It never felt stressful, and it never felt cheap. Everything that you can get done in Minit is very much achievable in the 60 seconds that you have.
Yeah.
Mostly it's just a factor of figuring out how you want to approach it. And when you figure that out, it's like Celeste, like, oh, I can never get to the other side of this room. But then once you figure out how the devs intended you to do it, it seems very easy. So that's how Minit is with its timing mechanic. I really like it for that.
That makes sense. Cool. So yeah, I've been playing Far Cry 5, and I think here, well, all right, how do we want to do this? Because I want to go into spoilers.
Why don't we just talk about it?
Spoiler free, I will stay. If it is not, I will leave.
Why do we have to spoil? You want to talk
about
the
I want to talk about the ending.
Okay.
Let's have Aaron until we talk about the ending.
All right, that's fine.
I want Aaron's impressions of our argument because I want to hear what he has to say.
All right, that's fine.
I really want to play it, so I'm excited.
David and Cheyenne, you guys played. You talked about Far Cry a little bit before.
I reviewed the game.
Yep.
I gave it a 9 out of 10. Yep. My review policy is kind of weird because for the site I review for, and you review for too, CJ, we got this covered. Check us out. We give scores based on increments of 10. So we give it a whatever. It's in 5 stars. Right?
It's a 10-point scale.
You can't give it like a 9.5. So basically, when I feel like I want to give a game an 8.5, I'll just round it up because I feel like that's more fair in a 10-point scale. So I wanted to give this game an 85. I rounded it up to a 9. I didn't have that much bad to say about it, and I really still don't. I really think the game is a fantastic Far Cry game. I think it's the best one that I have played. I played 3, 4, and 5. Didn't play 1 or 2. I think its narrative is fine. I didn't go in expecting the narrative to be the strong point, and it wasn't. The writing, on the other hand, was very good, and the performances were very good. Motivations could have been better on all fronts. I will contest that. But mechanically and from a gameplay standpoint, I think Far Cry 5 does more for the franchise than any of the other games in its quality of life improvements. I think the map is the best in the series, and I think the overall depth of the gameplay and options that the player has for tackling the different missions are really strong and kept me hooked. Beginning to end, I was having fun. I didn't feel tired of it. I didn't feel impatient or like it was wasting my time. So, Cheyenne, I don't know. You've played...
You pretty much, I've never played a Far Cry game, so this is my first one. I mean, I did play a little bit of 4, and I've watched you play 4.
I hated Far Cry 2, dude.
Yeah, Far Cry 2 has a lot of problems. My biggest complaints with 5 were there's too much fucking shit going on all the time. There's too many enemies always attacking you, and there's too many of those little side missions on the side of the road. I mentioned that in my review, so that dings it. And coming from single player, which I based my review on mostly, was just the single player campaign, to co-op, there's kind of a system where like the heralds, the 3 bosses of the 3 regions that you play around in, will have to at certain points capture you to progress the narrative of their region, and there's no stopping it. So like when I was playing with CJ, we would have like so many points in that region where they would have to come and get us and basically initiate all these fucking cutscenes and this forced mission, and I was like, oh my god, this is so annoying. So I think the best way to play co-op in the game is to clear the region or beat the boss and then go with your friend and do all the optional shit so that you don't have to worry about that, which is really lame. But that wasn't something that I knew going in from my review. And I might have considered that and dinged it a little bit for that as well. But that was a pretty big complaint that I had coming back to it. But yeah, so CJ, I want to hear your thoughts on it. You were not as high on it at all as I was. You had a lot of problems, so please...
So I've been, as you guys have been talking, I've been listening to what you're saying, thinking, and just in my head, the only thing I've been thinking is like, do I want to call Far Cry a mad game or a bad game? It's between that for me. Like Far Cry is the worst Far Cry 5 is the worst Far Cry game I've ever played.
You are
I
wrong,
don't
but that is
understand
fine.
that.
How many have you played? What have you played?
I played 3, Blood Dragon, 4, and Primal. So I've never played 2 or 1.
You're rating this worse than Primal.
Yes,
Wow. Okay.
without a doubt.
Continue.
The reasons for that, I have a litany of reasons
Okay.
for why I don't think it. Outside of just the story being a complete haphazard piece of shit, the story is so bad. I don't think there's ever been a worse story that I've played in a game. That's how bad the
A
story.
Way
of Far
Out
Cry
was
5.
worse.
I already
Yeah.
think that's dramatic. I feel
Oh no,
like
I'm definitely being dramatic here.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I really do. I think the story is terrible. Like
Okay.
terrible. Like point
Without having played it, I think you're probably wrong, but we'll see.
It really is bad. Anyway, just inside the game world from a like a gameplay standpoint, they ruined hunting in this game. Like hunting was a big part of what made Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 and Primal.
Aren't you just getting like
fun.
randomly fucked by turkeys in this one? Like you'll be fighting a million guys and then just
They
get killed by a
actually
turkey.
patched that. They said in the patch notes, "Turkey's too powerful."
Yeah, turkeys fucking like are no joke.
I've
yeah,
never had a problem
Like
with
you,
turkeys.
you fucking take care of a bear and then a fucking herd of turkeys come
Let
at you or
me
whatever. A
politely-
flock of turkeys.
Turkeys too powerful.
Let me politely interject here.
Yeah, go for
Because
it.
you're claiming that the hunting is worse in 5. But in reality, the hunting is the same. Mechanically, it's the same. And there's fishing now, which is a lot of fun. I love the fishing minigame.
Well, hold on, let me say my point.
Okay.
Far Cry 5's hunting is devalued in a way that it wasn't in Far Cry Primal 3 or 4. In that, like, you no longer is like, do you kill like 3 boar and then you make a boar wallet? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead, you killed 3 boar and take their skins into the store and get money for that. So basically, it's just streamlined that whole process, which in my opinion is taking away a fundamental portion of what a Far Cry game is like meant to be. Because like in old games, like the joy I got out of hunting was that I was getting a certain specific thing. Whereas in this game, it's like I don't ever have to hunt different animals for any reason. I can just go hunt bear if I really want to hunt.
That's
a positive.
Yeah,
for me.
that's a positive.
Be-
How is
because
that a positive?
The hunting in Far Cry, in all of the Far Cry games,
Because-
is nothing more than a glorified... It's the same gameplay you've been experiencing. It's the same with the bow or the gun or whatever. It's just shooting at a different target. So to make that mandatory for progression feels incredibly redundant. It feels like a waste of time, and it feels grindy for the sake of grindy, as opposed to the perk system, which is introduced in 5, which is essentially, you'll get these for just playing the game. I never had to go out of my way to get perks. And you spend these perk points on extra weapon slots or passive bonuses to your character, which I thought was a lot more interesting, because I think the hunting in these games is not something that I remembered from 4 was hunting.
That's crazy to me, because the hunting in Far Cry 4 was like one of the main things that I liked about it. Like you said, oh, you're just shooting at different targets. Yeah, no, it's different. Like they're not enemies, but like it's different. Like I don't know, it's just different. Like I guess they're different enemies. Like the way
yeah.
bears
They
and
run at
cougars
you and try to
big
attack you.
cats.
It's not
Hold on, I'm
riveting
talking.
gameplay.
The
Go
way
ahead.
bears and I was.
Yeah, I know, but
you're right,
You
but-
both interrupt everyone else. Like
This is true.
That's not
Bears, big cats, and tigers and shit like that. Completely different than hunting an eagle, which is completely different than hunting a fucking deer. And like, because like all I'm getting is money out of it, it doesn't like make me go do any of that stuff.
My argument would be that if you enjoy hunting so much, and these targets are all still in the game,
Go
you
play
can
Cabela's
there's
Big
no
Game
point
Hunter,
in doing it.
motherfucker.
if you need a point to do it, and you think it's so fun, then maybe it's not as fun as you think it is. If you need that reward, if you need that pull of loot or a better wallet, then maybe the act of hunting is not as important or integral to the enjoyment of the game as you think it is. Because if that's your only excuse for doing it, then you're not enjoying it as much as you're like.
That's not an excuse for doing it. It's the game pushing me in that way to make me do something interesting.
To do it.
It's not forced. Like
It actually.
No.
I mean,
did.
it was in 4,
four.
like to get like to be able to carry stuff. Like you had to hunt these certain things, and like I think.
And that made for interesting
for-
missions or interesting like, and that made for a lot more cool random encounters too.
I mean, you have challenges now where like you have to.
The hunting
kill
is
these
you can
certain
still
amounts,
get
and then
perk
you
points
get
for-
like points so that you can spend it on getting other
And
stuff. I think it's just a better system.
The perk system is just.
I would
so,
also
like,
argue, because there is a whole litnny of perk
copy
points
paste
that
from
you
like
get
other games.
from. I mean, for the better, though. I mean, not everything has to, like, reinvent the fucking genre.
I think it's what makes Far Cry fun and differentiate it from other games.
I disagree. And plus, there's a whole litany of perk points that you get for hunting specific kinds of animals. So if you wanted, you could get that extra weapon holster by hunting.
Yeah, but you don't need to because you get all the
And why is
that
that
gives
bad?
people more
with a shotgun.
options.
That's
if people
choice.
don't want to hunt, they have other options to get those things instead of like you have to fight 3 boars to
But
get this
the
wallet.
fun part of like progression systems is like feeling you earned something by accomplishing something.
Aren't you still doing that, though? You're just doing
Yes.
it
You
in a
have to
different...
do certain challenges to get those perks.
Yeah, but
it
like
may not
every
be
challenge,
hunting.
you can't max it out, but you can, and also like half the perks are fucking pointless.
They're what?
Like half the perks are just like you don't need them.
I think that you can pick and choose based on your playstyle, and I think that that's good.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm taking away from your argument right now is, besides the fact that you can get the same kind of upgrades that you can in Far Cry 4 from hunting, the fact that you are not forced to do it,
You're
is
not.
a
They're
bad
not
thing.
directly involved. It's so detached.
It is very much attached. It's just not forced, which is from your
It's
angle
very
a bad
detached.
thing. Which seems like silly because all it's doing is giving the player more options for progression, and hunting, besides all of this, is the best way to make money in the game, which I know you're going to say isn't a point because you can get so much from whatever, but I honestly found myself out hunting things, bears, fishing.
I never
a
hunted
lot.
one thing in this whole game.
I hunted a fuck ton because I wanted that helicopter, I wanted that assault rifle skin.
I got the helicopter just by playing the game.
You
I
can,
didn't,
but
I
I
don't know.
wanted it early, and I wanted it to clear outposts and stuff, so I felt compelled to go hunt because that's the best way to make money, which I think is a great trade-off to, hey, you have to hunt and you don't have any fucking options, and this is the only way that you're going to be able to carry enough to finish the game comfortably. That'd be like if in GTA 5, the only way to get more clothes in the previous games was to fucking do races or something, and you're like, well, I love the
but
races. They're
races
so
and clothes are
varied.
completely detached from one another. When I'm making a fucking like bearskin wallet, at least I'm like hunting a bear, and it feels like I don't know. It
That's
puts me.
so
Yeah, but-
silly because you can make a wallet out of literally fucking anything. If your argument is for realism here, like that's
It's
not
not
my
realism.
point.
It's just like it's immersion, which is what you guys like love to fucking like say this game has like so much of. Not so much of, but
No,
like
I'm
you
not
say
saying
you
that
can
at
feel
all.
immersed.
What
in
I'm
this game.
saying is
Outside, all right, hunting's bad, but like
Whatever.
I don't want to talk about
I
hunting
think
for a
we
minute.
just have completely
I
different
think your
ideas
argument
about
is
that. But
silly.
I don't wanna talk about hunting
again, without having played the game, I like what David was saying about hunting because I would be the same way as far as going out to hunt to earn money to get the skin to have it early in the game, so I could then go clear outposts with these items.
But you don't need to hunt at all. Like just clearing outposts gives you enough money for
Yeah,
everything.
and I'm
It
okay with
does
that
not.
because
It
I
gives
don't
you-
want to hunt.
you get
It does.
400 for clearing an outpost without doing stealth. So I can
I
make
bought
twice
I have
that in
3
10
legendary
minutes of
weapons,
fishing.
all the legendary vehicles, and I fucking didn't hunt a single time in this game.
You've also been mainlining the outposts, and what
Yeah,
I'm saying is if I wanted to do the outposts with really good gear for fun, just to blow the shit up, I would have to go hunt early in the game to get like a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher or a helicopter to do that.
You're also like,
It doesn't
Who
matter.
cares?
I don't know.
Player
Who cares about
choice is
hunting?
key here in my eyes, and that's
What?
good, and that's an
I
objectively good thing.
I think the streamlining takes away from the game.
I don't think
Anyway,
it's streamlining, but
it's
continue.
100%. It's yes, it is. Anyway, you talked about the game pulling you out constantly. That is fucking reprehensible in a game that is supposed to be like so much about fun and freedom and stuff like that. Just here's how it works, Aaron. Like you'll be on a side mission and just on some arbitrary like as you get a third of the amount of points you need to clear out a section, like they'll just arbitrarily take you out of whatever mission you're doing and put you in this cutscene that you might not have wanted to do at that moment. Which is like just not. It's so like. If you want, like, it makes the game stop and start and like fucks up the pacing of things I'm trying to do constantly.
I agree.
Yeah,
with
that's
that.
annoying.
But I think
alright.
that is better than, in the case of 4, the villain just being completely absent from the game. And this isn't
He's
a
not
great fix
absent,
for that. He is.
He's
He is.
really not.
He is. He appears twice in the game.
That's not
fine.
true. Not
Yeah.
true at all.
First, beginning and
it's
the
not.
end. That's the only time Pay Gap At Rockstar is in the fucking game.
No.
He is not present in the fucking narrative.
literally, like,
I did not play
you are
Far
the
Cry
only
4,
person
so
that
I
doesn't
cannot
think
argue
that
this.
he's present. Or you. I don't know.
Me?
No.
Oh. But this is not a good fix for that. But I would prefer this, and I don't like it either. I don't think it's a good solution. I would prefer this to just never seeing the villains, never hearing from them, never having any contact with them.
Well, hold on. You're saying pay him in, but like John Seed isn't in this game at all, or the main Seed guy.
Bullshit. Yes, he is.
You see him like every time you clear an area. You see him. Sometimes
you get a little
in the
cutscene.
other
That's
regions.
all you get. You don't
get
like
cutscenes
fucking
with
meet
him
him or
in
anything.
John's region. You get cutscenes with him in Jacob's region and
Yeah,
Faith's
but you don't
region.
actually see him. He doesn't like come and say hi to you.
Yes,
like,
he
you
does.
Just get you. No, he doesn't.
Literally when we were in the cage together and he told the story about his baby, we saw him. He was there in front of our face. I don't know what you're saying.
But it's a cutscene, so it doesn't count.
I don't know what you mean.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
I mean, you were saying that like.
No, I'm saying the
Just
cutscenes
because
you
you
get
don't
after
see
you
him
finish
in
the
the
region
world, like,
when
he's
he's
not
like
present.
just in a smoky room or whatever.
That you mean when he's talking to you through the cutscenes between regions? I think
Yeah.
that's totally effective at what it needs to do.
Wait, but that's not like actually seeing him. The thing you're seeing most of is the sub bosses.
Is the what?
Is the sub bosses.
Yeah, and
that's
but
fine.
that I'm like saying if the pagan main character were split into 4, which is essentially what this game did, the villain, the antagonist, it's not just Joseph Seed, it's all 4 of
But
these people.
that's what I'm saying. Like pay him in like that. I do have parts of this game I do enjoy, and I think the sub bosses and regions is like an interesting thing. I think it is super like when I was talking about stopping and starting like in pacing problems. I do like. I don't know, like when you complete a region and then you have to go to another region, it feels very like anticlimactic. I think in a lot of cases, but like I think the sub bosses are an interesting component. I think 2 of them suck, but like I thought they were that formula is an interesting thing to like as opposed to the old Far Cry formula of like blocking off half the map to you until like a certain
I agree.
a certain mark in the game.
I don't like it either. I don't like the stopping and starting either, but I think it is a serviceable way to get your villains in the forefront of the gamers' minds. And that's what I thought it was doing, and I thought it was effective at that. So
another
did I cut
huge
out?
problem I have with just from a gameplay perspective, yeah, you cut out real bad.
Oh.
Is the outposts are not as fun to clear out as past Far Cry games, like by any stretch of the imagination. They are either like you can't do stealth in them, or stealth has just been it hasn't been taken away, but like it is not as enjoyable and like
the AI is not as stupid.
it's not stupidity. It's like they are like it's like I'll snipe a dude like across the base and the whole base is like holy shit. Like I sniped him with a silenced sniper. Like how did you fucking
they
hear that?
see a
Like,
guy dying in front of them and they react.
no, it's not. They're
appropriately.
not like they hear me kill somebody with a silenced gun. And they're like, "Holy shit!"
Well, it's the same thing if you shoot an arrow next to somebody, it hits a wall, and you miss them, and they're like,
But
"What
like
the
I
fuck?" And they
killed
look
somebody.
back
They're
at
not
the wall.
next to them.
But we have both stealthed outposts just fine though.
We
Like,
didn't
There's
stealth
the-
out
there's,
the
like,
outpost
the
when we were
That's because
companion
playing.
you
can
kept
that,
getting
like,
caught. So
stays-
yeah,
yeah.
you're right. But
don't know.
I have
What did you
stealth
say?
outposts, no detection, and no alarms, and I had a little trouble,
did
but I
that,
thought it was
like, twice in this
appropriately
whole game.
hard. Being able to pick people off from afar is not fun. That is not fucking like realistic. It's not fun, and it's not engaging.
It's not just picking
Having
people
to
from
go
afar. If you
in-
go into an outpost, it's even worse.
I disagree completely. I think doing it up close is way easier because you have melee weapons and you have takedowns from melee that they don't hear at all. Shooting people with silenced guns is more ineffective than using the bow for good reason, because picking people off with a 50 cal from 400 meters away in Far Cry 4 was fine, but it also felt really anticlimactic when you killed the last guy and it was like, "You did it!" And I was like, that was fucking stupid. All I did was sit here with a sniper rifle.
And like I also just generally think the bases that are here are less interesting than they were in 4. In 4 they were like these cool like outposts built into caves where they'd have like multi-layered like parts of them, where in this one it's just like, oh, it's another hunting lodge kind of thing.
I don't remember 4s that enough to really make an argument here, but I thought 5s were varied enough, and
There were some cool places.
the locales were cool. There's like a hotel.
Like there was like that haunted hotel. There was like
There's the
like railroad like
wildlife preserve
things.
place. Thematically, I think
They
they're
all
great in
feel
this game.
very much like the same like Lincoln Log hunting lodge.
I don't
They're
agree
not.
with that.
There's
but
like 2 lodges, 2 or 3.
But like the hotel is made of wood and it feels exactly the same
as what?
as the hunting lodge and as like the fucking the wolf place.
Okay, but there's gas stations. There's like the railroad, like the copper mill place. There's like
Far Cry 4 is literally just, oh, it's a fucking cave or it's a big building. Like,
no,
that's
it's
it.
not.
That
Far
was
Cry
it.
4s are way more interesting.
I think you're just remembering them differently.
I'm
than
really
me,
not.
because I thought 5s were completely fine. And I thought that like they were the appropriate size and they had the appropriate amount of indoor sections. In fact, 5s are really cool because some of them have these cool little pipes you can travel through underground, like the storm drains, and you can pop up in the middle of like the building. So one time I came up in the middle of the building under some stairs where they couldn't really see me, and I was like picking people off with a bow. I thought that was a lot of fun. And in Far Cry 4, I don't remember ever having an opportunity like that. Plus, 5s need to be a little different. They can't be all in caves because maybe you want to take them out from the air. So they'll have to be a little bit open. Because sometimes you'll take them out. Like, I like taking them out with a helicopter. I thought that was a lot of fun. So being able to take them out from more angles makes them a little more homogeneous by design because they need to be able to be attacked from a lot of different gameplay styles.
I think that's a problem when I'm trying to I don't want every outpost to feel the same, and I feel like that's what I felt a lot of the time. And this is where I could just do the same strategy like over and over again.
Also, they de-emphasize outposts a lot in this game.
And outposts have always been my favorite part of the Far Cry game.
I mean, but they're there. But I think that what you're saying, as far as them being kind of samey, I think that by de-emphasizing them and having them being kind of like a side activity allows you the freedom to approach them when you want and how you want more evenly than in Far Cry 4, where they were very much like, hey, you got a tower, now go do the 3 outposts you can see like right now. So I didn't have a problem with it. I thought they were fine. I didn't notice any kind of like, oh, it's the same fucking outpost as last time. I was kind of tackling them in different ways throughout the game, and I thought that was fun and engaging, but I don't know. That might just be my playstyle. But yeah, I didn't have any problem with them.
And then last, but like the most, and not referencing the story, the fact that there's a silent protagonist is fucking terrible. Terrible.
I disagree completely.
Just dreadful.
Why?
Because like it ruins any semblance that the story could, like, I don't ever feel like this character. Like at any point ever. Silent protagonists just generally have to be earned, and this one was not in the slightest.
Do you think that, like, I disagree, because I think that in a game like Half-Life 2, and I'm not saying this is as good as Half-Life 2 narratively, because it isn't, but in a game like Half-Life 2, where you are a silent protagonist and your motives are very much tangential to what's going on around you, the character is mostly just there so that the player can live through the events without having to be tied to some kind of, like, motivation based on the person that they're playing as. Like, in 4, the protagonist's motivations were bullshit. They just didn't make any fucking sense. He had some kind of, like, a very, like, small amount of, like, relativity, or he was, like, a relative of this region. He was, like, came from this region, like, ethnically, and he hadn't lived here before, and he just came in and fucked shit up because, oh, my ancestry or whatever. Like, it made no fucking sense.
Not what that's about at all. Far Cry 4 has, like, a way more interesting narrative of, like, there are 2 camps, like, in this region that you come into, where one is, like, trying to stay, like, and preserve the
there's a
the
bad one and a
traditions
good one, and if you can't see that, then I don't know what to tell you.
What did you say?
There's a bad one and a good one in Far Cry 4, and if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you.
I can't. You broke up again. I'm sorry.
There is a bad camp and a good camp in Far Cry 4.
No, there's not at all.
You're
It
dumb
is
as
very
fuck.
nebulous.
You
You're
are
out of
stupid.
your fucking mind, David.
The lady
Literally,
who
one
literally
of them is
is
red
like,
and one of them is blue.
who
if I'm
literally is
remembering
like,
correctly.
hey, let's use opioids to fund our fucking war effort, is the bad person, and the guy who's like, hey, my sister's fucking crazy as shit, we should definitely, like, fix everything that's wrong with this place, is the good person. And
The person that wants to just
that's
destroy all of their cultural relevance.
that is not at all how it is framed.
That is 100% how
you
it
are
is framed.
high as fuck. That's like saying,
No, I'm fucking not.
that's like saying, hey, Abraham Lincoln wanted to destroy the fucking heritage of the U.S. by getting rid of slavery. Like, he was very much trying
No, it's
to
more
fix
like
the problems that the region
Andrew
had.
Jackson wanting to destroy the heritage of North America by fucking making people walk the Trail of Tears. Is what it's fucking like.
No, it is not at all.
It is
Because he had very noble goals, and he was very obviously the protagonist of that entire
His noble
game.
goals were to destroy all the fucking, like, culture that their society had been built
So
up.
instead of that, we should definitely have opioid farms, and we should definitely
That's
basically
the
have
fucking
indentured
interesting
servitude.
thing about it is that not both choices are fucking good.
That's not interesting at all. That is very much black and white. There's a good side and a bad
There
side.
isn't,
If
though.
you think that the girl in that game had, like, any kind of, like, relatable motives and she wasn't just a psychopath that was evil, then you're fucking stupid. Because I was very much like, oh, there's, like, an evil route and a good route. Like, 100%, that is how it is framed.
It's really
and
not.
You're fucking out of your mind. So, like, and besides that, the protagonist in 4, I don't even fucking remember his name. Like, he had almost no bearing on the story. He very much was a character for you to just self-insert to. Besides the fact that he came from this place or something, and his ancestry was here, and that's why he's
And, like, his
coming
mother
back.
was there, and, like, there's this weird thing about, like, his the way his family was brought up, and, like, it's all, like, pretty interesting. You're just blatantly
Cool,
ignoring
but
all
like, why is that so much more compelling than having a silent protagonist when it doesn't fucking matter what the protagonist's motivations are when they're just kind of a fish out of water scenario? Like, it's a different genre almost. Like, it's not an RPG. It's a game where you are coming into a series of events and you have to fuck shit up to make things right, for lack of a better word. And the characters' motivations are not that much unlike the players.
It's
that
not motivations that's the problem. It's that there is no character at all.
That's
whatsoever.
fine, is what I'm saying.
I'm just a mindless fucking droid that just does whatever anybody asks.
But that is completely fine, is what
It's
I'm saying.
not. It's so uninteresting and disappointing in a game that's supposed to, like, it's not necessarily have a message, but in a game that wants to tell a compelling story, the fact that the main character is literally, like, is reduced to literally, I get called Rook constantly, is fucking, like, degrading at a certain level.
I completely
Do you have this
disagree.
problem with all games where you don't play as like a character that was fully like created?
No, not every game, but this game does it terribly.
How is it different though?
Then what?
I don't know.
Then like a
Than-
Half-Life 2, like why
than
is this
any
so
other
much
silent
worse?
protagonist?
I haven't played Half-Life 2, so
There
Is
are
the
examples of
protagonist
this
silent in this game?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can play as a man, woman, any whatever. You can customize it to a degree, but it's not great.
Yeah.
I just think that like it's not a game where the protagonist's choices or really even their input it matters, because the situation is there when you arrive. Like, you're not the story does not revolve around you, and I think that by having a silent protagonist, it emphasizes that point of like, you are small in this world, you have a potential to do almost nothing. And the fact
That sounds like a problem for anything with even kind of a narrative, because like, what's the point of doing anything in that world if that's the case?
Like, you are in the world. You should feel like you're doing something. And
That
you feel
what
like
you just said
do
is inherently
because-
a problem.
why
Do you feel that way about like
Why?
Fallout?
Fallout
Because
3.
what the fuck is the point of interacting with
Fallout
anything in the
3 has
world
an
if
awesome
your
silent
impact on the world
protagonist.
means nothing, is what you just said.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that as you are dropped into the world, everything that's happening around you is already in motion. Like a fish out
The
of
cult
water.
already exists. Like,
It reminds me of a fish out of water story in like other media, because you as the player are dropped into this situation that you know almost nothing about, and you have to kind of like situate yourself here and do the things that the game is asking of you.
But there is
And
none of that. There is no character development in which you were situating
it doesn't
yourself.
need to have
Yes,
first-person
it does
character
for a
development.
compelling story.
I disagree. I just disagree. Like
Then, like, I think you like
You
different
disagree
stories than
that
me,
this
because
game doesn't
stories
need
that
a
I like
compelling
generally-
story, or
Like, this game does not live and die by its protagonist. Like, it does not need that.
It certainly dies by it, yes.
The Far Cry games have always been about their antagonists, their zaniness, and their settings. Not about, oh man, remember the protagonist in Far Cry 4 and how fucking well written he was? Nobody fucking talks about that. People always talk about Peg and Min, they talk about the environments and how pretty it was, and they talk about the mechanics. Nobody fucking remembers these games for their protagonists, so they spent that development time elsewhere, and I think that was a smart choice.
I
because
don't
they
at
get paid
all. I
off.
completely
that
disagree.
makes a
Like,
lot more sense than what you said before, and I do understand that.
Cheyenne bringing up Fallout 3 is a perfect example of a game that does a silent protagonist right. Like, in that game, at the first 2 hours
I
of
mean,
the
I
is
say
game,
also an
Fallout
R-
in general.
It's also an RPG, so that's not really a good
That's
I mean,
not a fair
Far Cry
comparison.
5 has, like, the same RPG elements as Fallout.
Bullshit, first of all.
It doesn't. It has a perk system
Bullshit.
just like Fallout.
But you
It
don't
has,
build your character in the same way. And
Fallout
you don't
3
have like
is-
dialogue options based on the
Fallout 3 is like you're literally placing yourself in that character's position.
Far
Like,
Cry
that's
5
not the same as Far Cry.
Has a rigid story structure. It is not an
it's
RPG at all.
In what way is it different than Fallout? I'm just asking.
You
It's-
don't have like
I just
when
said
you
that.
start Fallout, you like make your character. You have this much charisma, you have this much strength. Like you are making this person like to the degree like, and then you have like dialogue options based on like your character, and you can choose to do things completely differently. Like, and
Fallout 3 has serious consequences for your character's decisions. Far Cry 5 is very much just like a
All right,
narrative.
so hold on,
like, a
wait.
narrative that
So you're
is-
fleshing out this character and building it up in the world and stuff like that in Fallout 3.
as you would in an RPG.
Yeah, it's
All
an
right,
RPG.
but then why in Fallout 5 is none of that available, yet the character is still silent?
in Far Cry
because
5,
it's not an RPG.
one, it's not an RPG, and two, the
it has
protagonist-
RPG elements. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
does
Like,
not
the
at all.
system
But it
is an
isn't an
RPG skill tree.
RPG.
It's exactly the same.
Every game has a skill tree. That doesn't make it an RPG. The Division
That
is
is
not
the
an
main
RPG.
crux of what the fucking... Like, what are you talking about?
I disagree. A lot of games have RPG elements, and that does not make them an RPG.
It is a-
I'm not saying Fallout's an RPG. That's not what I'm saying. It has that part of it, though.
I keep saying Fallout.
It's exactly the
Just
same
Far
as Fallout. The
The
skill
reason-
tree
like,
is exactly the same.
I feel like now you're hard pressed to find a game that doesn't have RPG elements. Like,
But that's what I'm saying.
That's-
Like, their argument is like, hey, Fallout 3 is I don't even know what the fuck your argument
Well,
was.
I'm saying
Because-
that you don't need
I don't
to
know what
flesh
your
out
argument
your
is at this
character like
point.
that
Yeah,
in
I
Far
know,
Cry
it's very
5
bad.
because it's not an RPG where like things like that matter.
Far Cry 5 has a silent protagonist, and it works because of...
It doesn't.
It does. Because character customization would mean a lot more resources going into voice acting and things for a character that no one is ultimately going to remember, much like Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 3.
How do you know? You just can't write off that they wouldn't care about it.
I can because historically the series is not known for its protagonists.
I mean,
for
I would
them to
say
put...
that's not true. Like,
I would say that you're dumb if you think that.
Like,
Because
I'm not
they-
I
saying
wouldn't
that's
go
what
that
I
far,
mean.
but I agree that these games are not. Nobody really
much
cares about the protagonist. It's
more
more
known
about
for
jumping
their
into this world and
antagonists.
experiencing
Exactly.
it, seeing these bad guys, and fucking shit up just because you can.
Yeah.
Everyone knows
I
that.
agree.
Well, at least I was under the assumption that the Far Cry games were known for just throwing the player in and having character customization and just foregoing the writing of the first person perspective was.
is that not bad?
No.
Are we just okay with that?
Yeah,
Like Blood
I
Dragon was
completely
literally
am.
about just creating a goofy, fucking ridiculous narrative and just having fun with it.
Like, I don't understand why that's okay in a game that like is not as like it's fucking
Why
trying
is that
to say
so
something.
mind blowing? It's not, and that's okay. Like I don't know why you thought this game was going to be this fucking insane.
I thought this
narrative
game was gonna be
experience.
good, and it wasn't.
It
Like,
wasn't.
Blood Dragon was my
That's not the
favorite.
reason that you wanted it to be.
Blood Dragon is my favorite iteration of Far Cry, and its protagonist was literally fucking like Duke Nukem. Like you're running around as a shitty asshole making really shitty comments, and I had the most fun playing that game.
Other reasons that I feel like there's no voice protagonist is because of Far Cry Arcade, where your character goes into all these other levels and shit. It makes sense from like what they wanted to do with this game and how they wanted the scope of it to be, and I completely respect that. I had no problems with the silent protagonist here. And I think that you harping on about like really needing that character development from somebody that you're playing as, like, that's not what I see these games as. I see these games as like 1% your character, 99% the world and your interaction with it, and not like your character's motivation and their storyline. Like it's not about how the world molds your character, it's about how your character molds the world. That's how I feel the Far Cry series has built itself. So I don't have a problem with it. I think my argument is completely fine, and I think that yours is too, and I think we just have different opinions about things.
No,
I would go
my
as far as to
argument
say
would be better
CJ's
if I could
argument
say
is
how
not
like
good.
how having a silent protagonist affects how terrible the story is.
I don't think it affects the story at all.
Oh, 100%. Constantly, when you are fucking like put up against these fucking like menacing cult people and say nothing to them while they fucking. What are you saying here?
Nothing. I had an issue, man. Fuck. My ankle popped. It hurt real bad. It was
I
a
heard
whole
that.
You made a
Jesus
face like you were
Christ.
fucking trying to say something. But like when you go up against what's the main guy? Joseph Seed, right? They're Joseph, John, and Jacob. So it fucks me
Yep.
up. But when you go up against him at the end of the game and you say nothing, it's ridiculous.
You need to play Half-Life 2.
It's
Because
ridiculous.
there's a precedent for this kind of thing, and I don't think it's nearly as ridiculous as you're letting on. I just think that you're used to an industry that has voiced protagonists when historically you did not need that to have emotional impact in the encounters between your character and the villain. You do not need to say something to have that moment be meaningful.
I also think it's probably part of the reason why you think that you want them to be voiced, you want them to say something, is because of like the politics involved in the game. Like you want someone to be like, this is fucked up, like your cult is fucked up, like you want someone to go against them in a more vocal and obvious way, but I don't think that's what they were going for.
No, because
And I
you're-
think, like, that's such a bullshit excuse. That's not what they were going for.
I mean,
because every
do
game
they
could
want
be
to do
reduced to
that?
that. If you
Do they
reduce
have
everything
to
to its
go for
best
that?
parts and say this is what they were trying for, then every game is good.
I don't think so at all, because I think in this case it works. because I think that what they're going for works, and I can.
You said what they're going for again. Like that's like Mass Effect Andromeda is good because what they're going for is to make the Mako feel better than the first game.
And I think that I think that. Oh fuck! I lost my train of thought. I think that your character's actions in this game are supposed to be what you're focused on, rather than the absence of dialogue that they're not speaking, obviously. And I think that historically the Far Cry games have been that way, where you would go on a mission in Far Cry 4, fuck up a bunch of shit for somebody, and then come back and they'd be like, wow, you did a great job with that. And you'd be like, yeah, I did. Like, obviously the act of doing that means a lot more than you saying, hey, I'm going to back you up on this. So they focused more on that, and I think that completely works. And I think having customizable characters and no dialogue saved them a lot of development time, and I think it was a good decision.
About saving them development time. That's not my
I do, because
problem.
I think that went into other parts of the game that made it better.
And the other parts of the game that you're saying make it better, I think, are bad. The hunting is bad.
I don't know what to tell
you.
you.
The outposts are bad. All the flying stuff and vehicles are bad.
Completely disagree.
No.
They are completely fun.
They're very fun.
Helicopters.
Planes are bad.
Planes were
All I can say is I'm more
fun.
excited to play this now than I ever was.
Like
planes fly beautifully.
They're very
the
fun.
narrative stuff that, like you said, they take their development time out of the protagonist and put in other stuff. They put it into the narrative, and it's fucking shockingly terrible.
I don't think that is even necessarily true, because I don't even think the narrative is like the real strong point here. I think that mechanically and gameplay wise, this is the best Far Cry, and that's why it's the best Far Cry game, because these games do not need incredibly like complex or emotional or meaningful narratives to be successful. And this game,
but like that doesn't mean we shouldn't want something better.
You're right, and we can want something more, but I was not. I thought it was completely fine. I actually liked the writing a lot. The narrative on a whole and motivations and things, like I said, I have kind of issues with, but I came away from it being like, yeah, that was really fun. I felt like the villains were believable to an extent. I felt like the situation was believable to an extent.
They
it was
weren't
a lot
at
of fun.
all.
Then I don't know.
All. It's just this cult fucking comes out of nowhere with no explanation at all.
Does everything need to be explained?
Yes!
No.
I mean,
it doesn't need to
when
be
they
spelled
come
out,
of
but like,
nowhere,
how did
they
that cult
have-
come about?
Like, but it is explained, like,
It's not at all.
History, not as a cult, but their history as characters
like,
are
yeah,
explained.
like you learn about Joseph and like some of the things he's done and like sort of how he's got to where he is.
Then explain to me, just how did he get to power?
I mean, I would rather not.
How did he get to
spoil
power?
because,
Like,
yes.
How does any cultist get to power? You're charismatic, you are manipulative, you have roots in usually some kind of religion or some kind of hopeful decree, and then people flock to you because of your charisma.
Wait,
and
in
that's
what
all you
place
need
in the
to
game
know.
does it tell me that?
It doesn't.
This
need
is
to.
just
Doesn't it
something you
open
can
with him giving a
infer.
speech in a town, like people gathering
No,
around
it opens.
him?
He's
Yes.
already a cult leader.
Yeah.
And you go
Right,
into
but
the
don't
cult
you
to
see him
arrest
as a cult leader delivering a speech to a crowd of
Yes.
people?
That is how it
That
happens.
right there is your fucking
No,
into
because
him being
what
a,
this game fucking like is trying to tell us is like, hey, people are like the world is fucked up. This is like my interpretation is that the world is fucked up and therefore people are going to these cults, and it does a terrible job of fucking explaining that at all.
I'm not gonna like say, I personally have a lot more experience like with kind of
cults.
I know a lot about cults. I know a lot about the cults in America, and I guess I just kind of inferred that a lot of the things that were true for those were true for this cult.
That's just you putting stuff on it. Like it doesn't make that clear in its narrative at all.
It, I
To be
feel like it
fair,
doesn't need
like
to.
a lot of cults are like, how did this happen? There's not like usually there's not a timeline of like,
Yeah.
and then he said this and a bunch of people came and hung out with him. It's like, wow, all of a sudden this fucking, Waco fucking happened. All of a sudden
It's
there
not
was
all of a
this
sudden
fucking
Waco
cultist from
happened.
India and he's got this huge fucking cult
over
and he's
time,
poisoning
people start like getting involved in it, and like there's not like certain events that maybe like led up to it. Like,
What I'm
it's
saying
just-
is you don't need the backstory when this
It's
whole
not that you
situation
don't get a
is not
backstory. It's
that
like you get no
unbelievable.
perspective on the cult other than from the leaders. Like none of the people in the cult
That's
have
exactly
any.
where it matters, though.
It's not.
All right, for real though.
because
You
We
gotta
got to
go,
wrap
Aaron?
this up. We've been going. It's like
I want to
well
talk about
past 2 hours.
spoilers.
All right,
All right,
Aaron,
that's
you
fine.
can-
I guess I'll leave now. But fucking, I'm really excited to play this, and I want you, CJ, you score it, David, you score it, and then I'll play it and get back to you with mine.
Scores are dumb.
Just
I gave it a 9. I'd probably defer to an 8 now. 8.5. If I had to give it like the perfect score, 8.5. But I gave it a 9.
all right, CJ, out of 10, what would you give it?
A 4 or 5.
You're out of your fucking mind.
I mean, a 5 is honestly better than I expected you to say.
That's lower
It
than
doesn't
any
play
critic
well either.
in the world. Oh, fuck you.
The
Just fuck
systems
you.
in it are broken, and the story is
shut
so
up.
bad.
Just shut up.
All right, Aaron,
Goodbye,
go away.
Aaron.
I want to talk about
Alright.
the ending.
I'm leaving. Goodbye.
All right, we're back. We're gonna talk about spoilers. Which ending did you do?
I did the good one, I think. I don't know. The one where the nukes fall.
That's the good one.
I think so.
I don't know.
What the fuck was that?
It was great. I loved it.
How?
I
why?
thought it was awesome and hilarious.
He had nukes.
He
Yeah,
didn't
he-
nuke anyone.
no.
If you listen to the radio, there's a radio message that plays in the last region
All right,
when you're.
this is what I was doing this. I was like, I know this.
Oh.
Yeah, there's radio messages that
They-
play that
they
says,
nuked
like, North
Moscow.
Korea and-
And yeah, World War III is happening. So
He was right.
What?
he was right.
And you're telling me this game has nothing to do with politics? Get the fuck
Why
out
would
of
that
here.
have anything to do with
They don't
politics?
say why it's happening. They just say that it is.
Why do you think that makes the game political and not just like an ironic kind of like, oh, that's silly. he
It's
was
not
right.
ironic at all. It's clearly saying something with its politics. Throughout the game, whenever you get into a fight with one of the bad guys, they're all like, man, the world's going to shit. Look who's in charge, man. It's
First of
fucking
all,
crazy,
one of them
man."
says that.
All 3 of them say that.
Nah.
And the last guy, what's his name? The fucking motherfucker that looks like Conor McGregor.
Joseph?
Jacob.
Oh.
He's like, or maybe it's John or something. I can't remember.
Who
Which
is
one of them?
Connor fucking who?
He looks like Conor McGregor.
I don't know
He's
who
an
that
MMA
is, so I
fighter.
can't help you.
He's a very famous MMA fighter. Anyway, like, what the fuck do you want from me?
I
You
don't
didn't
know
who he
fucking
was.
MMA fighters.
Continue.
I don't know why is she bringing it up. Anyway,
I just wanted to help.
they mentioned the wall. They mentioned resisting. They mentioned fucking. It's like ridiculous how much like pussyfoot around politics this fucking
I
game
think
takes.
that it is. I think that it ends up being like funny because it like bait and
It
switches.
isn't funny at all.
It totally bait and switched you though, because you expect it to be like, oh, the cult leaders are like crazy conservative assholes who are like super regressive and weird, when in reality they aren't. And Joseph was right about like the collapse or whatever. And I thought that all of that imagery and all of those little subtleties were there, not as like a, hey guys, get it, Trump is like a thing, like that's a thing that happened, but more as like, hey, this might be what you thought this game was going to be about, but we're going in a totally different direction, which I liked. And if you expected it to be like gonna say something about the election or anything in America, this game's probably been in development for fucking 4 years. Like, there's no fucking way they went into this being like, yeah, let's talk about.
I mean, that's not. They
2016
marketed
election.
it that way, and they did market it that way because I have multiple quotes from Dan Hay where he's saying that they're marketing it that way. He said, "This game is about the white working class reeling after recession, and they turn to a cult. They turn to a leader. They turn to somebody who can give them hope." That is fucking talking about Trump. Get the fuck out of here, telling me.
Are you
he's
sure that's not
I
talking
mean-
about Joseph Seed though?
I mean, it is
No,
talking about
that's
Joseph
what they're
Seed.
viewing Joseph Seed as this Trump-like figure.
No.
You're inserting
That's
that.
what That's what he
You
said.
just
He
implied
never
that.
said anything about Trump or current politics. That is.
You just made that up.
You are.
I
inserting
didn't. That quote is real. What the
I
fuck?
know.
That quote is
It-
real,
it
but that
doesn't
quote is
say
talking
anything
about
about-
Joseph
The
Seed,
quote,
not Trump.
This game is about the white working class
Okay.
reeling
Yeah.
after recession who
Okay.
have turned to
Yeah.
a cult. They
Okay.
have turned to a lead. How is that not about Trump?
That's your explanation for how the cult got started that you wanted so
That's
bad.
true.
Right, and none of that appears in the fucking game.
Okay,
None
but
of
the
that.
marketing implied it, so like
But the marketing didn't follow through. Is what I'm saying.
the marketing did follow through because that has nothing to do with Trump, and you're
Yeah.
just making that up.
I'm not. What the fuck? I didn't make that quote up.
No, you didn't.
Oh my
but you
God,
made
you
up the
don't
fact that it was
understand.
about Trump when it's
How
actually
is that
not.
not? That doesn't read like Trump to you.
No, it reads like Joseph Seed.
You're an idiot. Then you have no fucking
Like-
idea.
Sure, like that can parallel, but like there's nothing saying that that is what they are doing.
You could say that about any political figure. Like, oh, that applies to fucking Hillary Clinton. Of course it
The
doesn't.
white working class flocked to Hillary Clinton
No, obviously
after the
not.
recession, and they felt economic anxiety. Get the fuck
The
out of here.
recession was in what, 2008?
Yeah.
Okay, the election was last year. So like the white working
You're
class.
right.
after
Economics
the-
don't have impacts
after the
year that they
recession.
happened, right?
So maybe the Eden's Gate cult started in 2010. Bam, it's about Joseph Seed. Like, it's not talking about Trump. They just tricked you into thinking it was, and I think that that's kind of shitty
No,
of the.
they lied to me about
No.
thinking
They
that they were
didn't.
going to
No.
make a. They did.
They did.
No. They did.
They
They never
100%
said this
did.
is going to be about current politics and like. They never
They
said
said
that.
multiple times this is gonna be about Trumpers.
Nowhere.
When?
Cited.
Not the word Trumpers.
Okay,
That's
so
why I
you're
said
making
in
it up.
quotes.
Like
I'm not making it up. That's why I just said it in air quotes.
Oh my
like,
God.
They
Yeah,
labeled
but-
this game as being about like the Trump voter.
Except they didn't.
they didn't. You
They-
just like everyone else.
I can't.
You
I
like
fucking
everyone
can't.
else assumed that that's what the game was going to be about.
Because
Because-
that's what they said.
And then where?
Where do they mention like conservative, like alt-right, like
You can
Trump-
act as like distressed as you want, but like your point is not standing because he's clearly talking about the cult that exists within the game that they are marketing for. Like, if this was about Trumpers, where's the fucking politics in the game to support that? Like, the marketing can't just be like, hey, I mean, they can, but it wasn't. It has no bearing on the game's politics because the game's politics are within the cult. And who they're talking about are the people who flocked to the cult who
And
thought...
you see none of that is what I'm saying.
What do you mean you see none of that?
You see none of the people, like the members of
That's
the cult
fair.
are just...
I agree with that point. I wish that you did have a better insight. I think the closest they come is with the faith stuff, where like, oh, well, there's been multiple faiths, and this is why they left, and this is how he manipulated them. I thought that stuff was cool, and I wish it had more of that. But for you to say that the game was, by everybody's standards, expecting it to be like, oh, let's kill the fucking Republicans that are crazy and far right, like, no fucking way was that in a million years what they were talking about. And if you really thought that this
It
game was
is,
about killing
though.
Trumpers, you were out of your fucking mind, and I don't know what to tell you. Because
dude, he paints a picture in all of the interviews he gave about this game that is about rural white America feeling bad about
Well,
economic anxiety and
it
stuff like
takes
that.
so
place in
why
rural
is
white America.
why is
Like,
the only
yes.
place that
Not to mention, it doesn't take place in rural white America.
Takes place in
'Cause
fucking
this
Montana.
cult is fucking multicultural as fuck for no fucking reason. It makes no goddamn sense.
because there's no fucking people of color who are right at all, right? Like that's
No,
not right.
all right.
I mean-
Give me the Waco numbers. How many people are black in the Waco?
Well, the Waco was not had
In
nothing
any
to
cult
do with
ever, how many people
the
are black?
politics that this game is apparently referring to, though. So like that's not even related. What I'm saying is that okay. So by your logic, for it to be about rural white America after the recession, the only thing it could be referencing is Trump, and not
That
this,
is what it's referencing.
and not this fictional character that they have obviously built up to be like a
The
bastion
fictional
of
character
hope
that
for
they made be,
disenfranchised people who are trying to recover from a countries that they feel like that they've lost. Like, I could kind of get how you could say that like Joseph Seed might be a parallel for like the beacon of hope that Trump was supposed to be for these people, but to say that he is talking about Trump in that quote is just a total ass pull.
It is, dude. And not like I got into it a little bit, but like throughout the game they bring up politics in just this fucking nonchalant way that is like so dismissive of all of it. Like there are just like funny that aren't funny at all side missions, like about the P-tape and about fucking Herc's dad being like a Republican member of Congress, and he's running. He goes out there. He's like, yeah, we got to get all these Obama libtards out of here. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is like engaging
to be
with
fair,
politics in the worst way possible.
I did neither of those missions during my review, so I still
like,
have not done either of those missions. So I just dodged all of it. I agree to a degree. I agree with you about it not tackling anything meaningful. And I wish that it had just either not at all referenced anything politically and then also not made a statement, or had gone the complete opposite direction and had something to say while mentioning these things that you're talking about. I think that that's the right thing to do. But at the same time, to have a game set in America is to be kind of like seated in these kind of political discussions, and to reference them but not really have anything to say about them is kind of weak. But at the same time, I think it's the only thing they could have done to make it believable without having to say anything that might hurt their like audience.
I don't care.
sales
Then isn't that a bad thing if somebody's like making something so fucking milquetoast for an audience?
Sure, but like at the same time, this game did not set out like that would be if the game had these huge expectations of it being like a super like woke game where you take down the fucking right, but then at the same time it like is like, oh, maybe the right weren't that bad after all, but it just doesn't tackle any of it.
I know that's a problem that it sidesteps it completely.
See, I don't think it is though.
That is the big problem with it, in my opinion.
I didn't expect it to tackle any of those things, and I was not disappointed by that. And I think that there's a time and a place for being like really political, and this is obviously an environment right now where it's a good time to talk about these things. But and this is a shitty argument. People are like, "Oh, well, I play video games to like escape real world," but like you need to be cognizant of these things, right? But I think that Far Cry 5's cults setting and its religious zealotry tackles a kind of different issue that people are kind of not talking about, and that's like religious kind of like I don't know what word I want to use here, but like
tribalism.
Sure, religious tribalism, in that like by having these ideas that you think and you know are right, you're willing to go to any length to prove them and to kind of hurt or turn away those that don't agree with you. And I think that almost makes a statement in itself about the like mindset of people who are in the Trump camp or in the alt-right camp, who are just like, hey, if you're not with us, you're against us, and this is what the God Emperor Trump says. And it's kind of like, I think that you can draw parallels to that, but not in a way that is going to like offend anyone in real life, and that might be a problem, and I wish it had tackled it differently. But I think that its mythos of the cult in Montana are well done enough that it hits its mark from like a kind of like modern thoughtfulness without delving too much into politics, if that makes sense.
I think pussyfooting around politics is the general fucking like terribleness of it. In that, like, if this cult existed, imagine for a second if this cult existed, they would be Republicans, like, without a doubt. Wouldn't even be a question. I
don't even think that that's true, though.
It's
because,
1,000% true.
What is the guy? Fuck. Hang on, I'm doing some research.
And these people would be Trumpers. And the fact that they don't emphasize that at all and they pussyfoot around that is just like...
Something like that.
The Rajneeshi cult, who were located in Oregon, which is, like, pretty close to Montana... they were all hippy dippy 20-somethings who were super like freedom, probably leftist guys
in the 80s. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about now. This is happening in current day America.
Why is it so unbelievable though that the time period changing would make it to where they just had to be Republicans? Like,
what did you say?
Why do they have to be Republicans again for this to make sense?
Because like it makes no sense that they fucking like just politics is no part of Joseph Seed's like angle. Like, it's all just about religion, and he's the father, and he knows everything. None of it is about, like, the tribalism of the Trump administration. None of it is about race politics. None of it is about Islamophobia. None of it is about any of that stuff. It's all just, these people decided that, like, he was pretty cool.
I prefer that to them tackling those issues and completely fucking it up. Yeah.
I at least fucking take a chance, dude. No. And then they don't not tackle those issues. They just like they hint around like, hey, these issues exist. Trump exists. Resist is like on every fucking wall in the fucking game. They're talking about bringing people or dividing people and bringing them together. Like, and we're not building up walls.
I gotta say, I did not expect this game to piss off leftists. That's the real shocker of the whole thing.
I mean, I don't
that
fucking...
by not being political, it somehow made people mad. Like,
it's not that it's not political, it's just that it doesn't engage with its politics correctly.
It doesn't engage with its politics, period.
No, it does at certain points, and it just makes a big fucking...
call that engaging with politics.
To
engage with something is to not only acknowledge it, but to also have a dialogue with it. And at best, this game is just referential. And I think that that's silly, but I don't think it ever made me like, yeah, so when are you going to say that Trump is literally Hitler? Like, I didn't expect the game to do that, and it didn't, so I wasn't disappointed. Like, I didn't think this game was going to have a political narrative at all, and I wasn't disappointed that it didn't. Like, I just don't...
Like, then you're just, like, playing this expectation card that's, like, I don't know, it's just...
why do you think that Far Cry 5 is going to appeal to people of the left and be like, yeah, fuck...
It's not appealing to people of the left, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't, like, know, like, what it wants to be constantly, I feel like.
But by setting it in America, you have to somewhat, like, acknowledge these things. And I can
you're breaking up. I can't.
I said
hear
by
what
setting the game where they set it in Montana, America, they have to acknowledge some of these things, but they don't want to take a stance on them. Understandably,
because
I
they're
guess.
pussies.
Sure, they're pussies. Yeah, like I guess.
guess,
But at the
but-
same time, like to not do that is like not in my eyes a problem. Like I
It's
just
a
don't I
huge
just don't
I
think
don't
that
know
it
why
needs to
you
have a
would
narrative.
expect a AAA game that wants to sell to all demographics of people and also to have, like, obviously they're bringing out DLC, like they want it to have longevity. They don't want people to only think it's about one specific moment. Not to mention it was in development for who knows how many years. They don't want it to be dated, and they want people to keep playing it, and they want multiple, like, types of people to be okay with playing it.
So every piece of media, like, we should just be okay and settle for them not
No,
addressing
I'm not
anything.
saying we should settle. I'm saying I don't know why you would expect them to, because they are trying to make
Because I want good media, because I want good art.
Sure, that's
How
not
about
gonna
this
happen
though? How about
with-
not every piece of art has to have a narrative politically? Like I like what's the
No,
problem?
not every piece does.
So this
like,
one doesn't,
I would
and
say,
that's a problem.
What's another
Like,
game I
why?
just played? A Way Out doesn't engage with politics at all.
Of
Like,
course
really.
not.
And, like, that's fine. But Far Cry tries to, and it fucks it
It
up real
doesn't
bad.
try
think
to
it
is my
tries
argument.
to.
It doesn't at all.
And you're wrong.
You're just injecting this like false like hey, so like this exists so you need to fucking tackle it. Like that's not
It's not that they need to tackle it. They try to make jokes about it. And they try to parody stuff involved with politics. But, like, when it becomes, like, the actual serious parts of the game, then, like, fuck that shit. We can't actually take a stand. God forbid we say something
because
real.
it would not make them money. That's honestly the bottom
Then
line.
that's
Like,
bad.
I agree, but like that's
Then this
how
game is
fucking
bad.
capitalism works.
The game is
it's
not
a
bad.
bad game. It's just a bad fucking system.
and the game does not need to take a political stand to
It
be
doesn't.
good. And I think the game is good for what it does, and I think that it not
That's such a fucking reductive argument.
Why? Why?
It's good for what it does.
Okay, it's good because it's a good video game. It's fun to play. I liked the writing, and
was very
it not
fun.
taking a political stance is not a problem for me. So I think it's good. There.
agree.
Is that
I
less
didn't hear a word
reductive?
you said, but I'm going to assume it was wrong.
It
in my
just like why the fuck like just if it were set anywhere else and this cult existed in the same fashion, you would not be saying any of this shit. Like it just makes no fucking sense that just because it's set in Montana and there's like fucking a few references to like modern politics because like of course
It's
there
not
are.
a few. It's fucking,
Dog, like,
all
it
over.
is-
I didn't
though.
realize like any.
Then you're
'cause
blind.
I didn't do those two specific quests that
And in the main
vaguely-
quest, like, they constantly reference fucking Trumpism.
Constant is
They
like
don't.
such an asshole. Because I
Every
remember
single time you
3,
engage
if that reference.
With the sub-bosses, they bring up who's in charge, or this country's falling to shit, or we're not trying to divide people and put up walls, or constantly stuff like that.
If
There
you-
was like
if we
one
had-
And if you
reference
don't
about
realize that,
a
you are
wall
blind to
and,
what is
like,
happening.
If like Obama was president though, you'd be like, okay, so they're Republicans. Like it just doesn't matter. Like that's
What
the
did you
point.
say?
I said if Obama were president and they said that same thing, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense because they're crazy.
Obama's not trying to fucking keep Mexicans out of the country by fucking
But what
putting up a
I'm
wall.
saying is it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter who actually is the president because this game is not engaging with that as its political drive.
But it
because
is
the cult
at
is
some
not
point,
political.
and it doesn't. And its crux is that's the point I'm making. Is that when it comes time to actually have a reckoning about what's going on, they don't.
So what?
And like you're letting them off scot-free for that, and I'm not.
I would argue that the villain's motivations are weak, and I admitted that. The motivations I wish were a more thought through part of this game's narrative. But at the same time, I think that having them be political about it to justify that is like not the right avenue. And I think that the cult's motivations not being political is completely understandable because that's not how all cults operate, and that's in this fantasy world that's, you know, whatever, it's not the
But
narrative.
you can't have your cake and eat it too. It does.
It does what?
It tries to engage with the politics, except in the serious bits, and then it's like we don't want to actually say anything.
So I don't value that as much. I just don't fucking I don't think the game needs to have a political stance. I just don't. Like I think that having those references sure is bad or whatever, but I don't think that like then I think I would rather it not have those political references and also not have a stance than what you're saying is have them, but also you have to say something about modern politics.
All right, but it doesn't do that. Like, that's what I'm saying.
I guess I'm saying that I care less about it having those references than you do about it not having a stance, is my argument now. Because it just didn't faze me. I was like, okay, like, of course
it
you're not
fazed
gonna...
me a lot. It felt fucking gross every time I fucking had to do a mission
Oh,
that was talking about...
please. Like, what,
it does!
Do you need it to reaffirm your political, like, stand? Like, do you need it to, like, really, like,
No, I don't
try
need
to
it to tell me
change
something
people's
about
hearts
politics.
about how they feel about modern politics in America? Like, did you need it to be like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, also Trump sucks, also here's this, and then you'd be like, okay, good, awesome, I'm happy now. Like, it didn't fucking matter. Like, it didn't matter. The game was fun. I thought the writing was fine.
It wasn't fun, though.
I understand where I stand on these things, and it didn't faze me. Because I know, like, I'm confident in my beliefs, and I don't think that this video game, that is obviously appealing to many people, which is sure part of the problem with the AAA industry, needed to sway hearts in the favor of
That's
what's
such a-
right. Like,
Terrible argument that fucking, like, oh, it has to
There's
appeal to as many people as
nothing
possible.
we can do about that.
like
Yes, you can talk about it, critique it. That is the point of critique.
I think that I agree,
That's
and I
not
wish
gonna
that
make
more
them
AAA
change.
publishers took...
You're right. It's not. I'm not fucking talking to Yves Gilmore
know,
and be
but,
like, hey, make your game fucking have better politics in it. But, like, if everyone says that and the general gaming consensus is that is how change is spurred on. That's just like, if there's
Sure.
anything you don't like, you should just do nothing about it because you can't really affect
But I
it.
don't dislike anything about this. Is basically.
So you thought the politics in this game were fine?
there
There
weren't
weren't
any politics, and I
politics.
was fine
Oh
with
my
that.
god, they're... All right, we gotta stop.
Jesus
The
Christ.
ending was also terrible
What ending?
because they made...
Oh,
when I
the-
first thought it, I thought he had nukes.
No.
No.
Why would he have nukes?
Because where does it explain besides in the radio in the car that
Like
something
the
else
He
is
says
going
like
on?
1,000
where he
times
talks
that the
about
collapse is coming.
the entire time.
I didn't hear a word you guys were saying.
Where he says the whole time that the world's gonna end.
So I'm supposed to believe the cult leader? What the fuck?
I mean, it
I
ends
mean-
up being like, oh, he was right.
By the way,
I
he
thought it
was
was
right, yeah.
hilarious.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm supposed to believe the cult leader?
No, that's
I mean,
why
no,
it should
that's
come
why
as a
it's
shock when
that's
he's
why
right.
it's a twist.
It's like, that's just like a fucking, like, shock for shock value's sake.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think so because it makes you value like the terrible things
What the
he
cult
did
leader
against.
has to say?
Huh?
It makes me value what the cult leader has to say?
I mean, not even that. It makes you like really makes you think. No, it makes
No.
you it makes you value the terrible things he did against the earnest and like, you know, honest belief that he was like saving these people. So like it made him a more two-dimensional villain in my mind because he wasn't just completely talking out of his ass the whole time, or maybe he was, or three-dimensional.
I know what you meant.
And so like the cults, the
But
cult
you don't
thing
get
and
any of that in
religion
the
thing
actual
and
game. You only get that if you listen to the car radio.
What?
You get that from the ending. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, he was right. That's crazy. Like I don't.
Right,
Like,
so
if
you're
you
telling me
listen
when the...
to him at all, like, he talked about it, like, sure, you can hear in the radio that it's happening elsewhere, too, but, like, throughout the thing, he, like, predicts that this collapse is going to happen, and then it happens.
All right, he also tells me he can talk to God. Am I supposed to believe that, too? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, no, but like it's a like balancing act of his belief in himself and his belief in his religion versus the reality of the situation. Where I think that it was interesting that it almost made him seem like a good guy to some people, but a terrible villain to others. And I thought that made him deeper in like a kind of silly way, and I was fine with it. I thought the ending was like, I was like, oh, this is funny, this is fun, whatever, I like it. It's the same way that all the Far Cry villains are, where it's like, oh, were they really the bad guy? Like Pagan Min, like a lot of people are like, oh, he's so cool, I don't want to kill him, whatever, he's a really charismatic guy, and he was, you know, he said that you came into the country and just by refusing to sit down at this table, you destabilized the whole thing and killed like hundreds of people, and that was like,
And also,
ironic.
like, in Pay Him In, like, he's wrong.
I mean, of course he's
But
wrong, and so if Joseph Seed, because he
is
kills
right.
all these people.
Yeah, like, he...
No, he's not right in his execution. He's right.
He
in
was
his...
right!
No,
The nukes fall!
Okay, that's
He
Yeah,
was
but
reductive.
he
right.
wasn't, but
That
he
is
wasn't
reductive.
like, right to kill people and to act
Oh.
the way that he did.
the
because
idea was right,
he
but
knew
the
what was gonna
execution
happen.
could have used some work. Is what I'm saying.
He's just right. It's so dumb. And did you see the other ending?
No. What is it?
The other ending is when you walk away.
Yeah.
The nukes don't fall. Like, there is no show of that. You're driving away in the car, and the sheriff turns on the radio, and it's like your trigger song or whatever,
Yeah.
and the game just fades to black.
Oh, that's funny.
You get none of the nuke stuff, none of that.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, obviously the
That's
right ending
fucking
is to,
ridiculous.
Obviously, the good ending is to resist and try to fight back because that's what you're.
I don't think either ending is like I think it's not good and bad in sense of like moral ambiguity. I don't think either ending is good. Just like
I think
what
they're
the
both
fuck?
completely fine, and I think you're just like. I think that making it less black and white makes it more interesting. Like it's more to think about, it's more to chew on, and now that we're having a discussion about it, which is obviously what the developers wanted.
just because you have a discussion about something doesn't make it good.
But no, what I'm saying is this discussion and my thoughts about it afterwards. I actually thought about the ending afterwards. Unlike some games where it's like you beat the bad guy, the end, credits roll. This was like, well, I mean, he was a piece of shit because he killed a bunch of innocent people who didn't like follow his faith. But at the same time, he was honestly trying to make this utopia for his followers, and honestly like had an
He
idea.
wasn't trying to make a utopia.
Yes, he
for
was.
himself.
That's what Eden's Gate is.
Killed hundreds of people.
That's what Eden's Gate was, though. It was for the chosen few, as he called it. Like,
Also, not that we didn't get into this. I did not expect in the Far Cry game I'd hear the word peg so much.
what?
The word peg, it was a joke.
Oh,
Joke.
Oh. Okay.
I didn't realize why they called him that for a long time. I was like, oh, that's like the acronym or something.
Yeah.
No, I think that like, yeah, he's obviously a villain and he's evil, but the fact
But
that
he's right.
so what? Like that's not the
That's
point.
dumb.
He's not.
That's not the point. You can be right and also be wrong. Like in his being right, he still didn't do the right thing, but like that is what makes it interesting to me.
And he's not to mention he's only right in one version of the game.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
even know if he's
who
right in the other
knows?
version.
Whatever, fuck it. That doesn't matter. I didn't do that ending, so who cares?
And,
No,
and the part that made me hate the silent protagonist the most is when you're in the bunker with him at the end, and he's like, you're gonna be my family now, or whatever the fuck.
I thought that was
Are you guys there?
awesome. Yeah, I heard you. I just you cut
What,
off.
the fact that you don't get any, you don't.
It
I
was
in
funny.
my
was
game
like,
I
oh,
would have
this
fucking
is
said fuck
hilarious.
you.
Like I thought it was funny, and I just was like, yeah, I'm
It's
fine
not
with
funny, dude.
it. It is funny.
The game isn't funny. It's not trying to be funny.
Of course, it's ridiculous. Like, of course, the
It's
game is
not,
trying to be
though.
ridiculous. Whatever. I totally disagree with that. Like, the game knows it's over the top, and you like heralding these
At
like
some
serious
point, yeah, when you
parts
do
is
the
like
fucking
needing to
War
say
Eagle
something.
Stuff, that's trying to be funny.
The game is never like, hey, time to cry now. Like, it has serious moments, but that's only to balance out the ridiculousness of the rest of the plot. Like, they know exactly what the fuck they're doing, and then they knew how silly that ending was, and it was totally played up. Like, I respected that. I was like, this is insane, and I love it. Like, I thought it was just dumb fun, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Couldn't take it at all. I hated it so much.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry you didn't like the game.
Yeah.
I really
So-
liked the game. I liked the gameplay the most out of the whole series, and I thought the writing was fine. So,
All right. Well, this has been Current Game Podcast, episode 48. My name's Charles Blade. You can find me on Twitter at Charles Tula. David, where can everybody find you?
you can find me on WeGotThisCovered.com. I gave Far Cry 5 a 9 out of 10. Make sure to go read my review.
Cheyenne.
I'm Poop Flowers on Twitter.
And Aaron is Aaron M. Weeks on Twitter. You can find the channel at currentgaming_. Yeah. No, Far Cry 5 sucks.
Sure.
All right. Peace.